welcome to another Talks with Liem. This is available to the billions of people around the world on YouTube, Pandora, Podchaser, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. There's so many. Just search Talks with Liem. I'm your host. I'm Liem. I bring the perspective of being a software engineer and doing that for almost 2 decades. Today, my guest is Petar. He is the host of Rise to Offend, and he also works with metalsucks.net. Petar, tell me a little bit more about what you do for that and plug yourself.
Absolutely, man. First off, Lem, thank you so much for having me on the show. It's really cool, man. I'm excited for our chat. It's always fun to talk with you, man. And so what I do, I am the co-host. I do have a team on a Rise to Offend is our documentary discussion podcast where we take a figure that has been offensive in society and we kind of break them down as a human. And we play clips of interviews and we do a discussion about their digital imprint that we find on the internet. And that podcast has been going on now. We just did 400 episodes of that. And that is with my co-host, Brandon Guchan, Sylvia Alvarado, and Jocelyn Sharp. And then also, of course, metalsucks.net. The bread and butter, if I may, of the podcast. Rise to Offend is very much something that is a passion project for us three. metalsucks.net. We interview a heavy metal artist every week. I've been doing that now. We just reached our 400th episode of that as well. So make sure you guys do. If you're into heavy metal, go to metalsucks.net. Love the site. Love the guys that run it. Vince and Axel, they're fantastic dudes. Have been nothing but great to me. And people can follow me on my Rise to Offend handles. It's Rise to Offend Official on Instagram, Rise to Offend on Facebook and Twitter. That's all I got, Lem, with the intro. I don't know if I sold too well, but I tried.
Awesome. So we spent I got to speak to you for 3 hours. We talked about my being a first generation Vietnamese in America. You talked about your upbringing, poverty, eating condiments on just bread and getting by with that, and your mom having to take care of you and your brother and your dad.
Yep.
And we talk about government, whether that's good or bad with America, the capitalist system, whether that's good or bad, and how we could look to kind of make it a better place. We talk about some morality in there, about how people could be kind of, if they raise their children better, hopefully that makes a better world. So audience, stay tuned for that.
We talked. So we're both first generation Americans.
Yes.
Tell me your experience from that spot, and then I'll kind of tell you mine, because I think that it's almost an immediate thing that you're an outcast because conformity comes harder, if that makes sense, because it's not the perspective that you have, and at least. But anyways, continue on.
Yeah,
your side.
I was talking about. I'm going to jump into my co-host. Just he's actually his mom is we're cousins, so his mom is my mom's sister, but his dad is Irish, so he's from the dad's side, he's like a 3rd or 4th generation in America, but from the mom's side, that's a 1st generation for if that. But yet I do see such a big, in my opinion, I feel like there's such a big difference between him and me. He looks more white than Asian. Like if you look at him, you wouldn't even know that he's Asian. I think actually this is kind of interesting that I talk about this now. And then when we do a in person for all 3 of us, it'll be interesting to hear his perspective. I think he might disagree with me slightly, but I think it'll be good conversations to have anyways. The reason why I bring that up is I think it's so interesting how, in my opinion, it's different for him looking white, being half Vietnamese, and then me being full Vietnamese, 1st generation in America. Like I feel when I see people interact with them, there's a subtlety of difference. It's not in your face. Like I could point out everything and real easily. It's subtle things that takes years to kind of look at it and see how, out of those 20 situations, 19 times this happened to me, and then only 1 time that happened to him or something. It's very subtle. I don't know how to explain it, but it
sounds like there's a comfort maybe that he has that takes you a little bit longer to get. Does that sound right?
No. I'm talking about how people, I think how there's might be a subtlety on how either having Asian skin, looking Asian.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Because you hear my voice. I speak. I mean, like I was born in Texas, raised in California, so I got the Californian accent, in my opinion. I feel like if there was no camera on me and it was just audio only, I feel like people wouldn't know what I am. So in conversations and social events, social gatherings, I feel there's a subtle difference between how someone will treat a white person and then an Asian. It's very subtle. I'm not saying there's racism.
No, I see what you're saying.
That there's not racism that someone's calling me a gook or something, but it's just subtle little things. So I guess as being a first generation Vietnamese, that's the subtle things that I'm able to see now. I think that's also an interesting thing if I take my dad into that situation. I don't think my dad would be able to understand those subtle differences. Now, with my dad, he has a very heavy Vietnamese accent when he speaks English. He came here when he was probably 26, somewhere around there, maybe 26, 24. He came after the Vietnam War. That story is actually, I think I did a podcast four podcasts ago where I spoke a little bit about his story, but I'll make it kind of quick just for for you to feel the story. So the day that after the war, the day when the war ended, and I've pieced together the story from asking aunts and uncles. I've talked to my dad, but he always goes on tangents. I can't get a straight story from him. So anyways, I've asked him what happened when you left Vietnam. And he said, well, my aunts and uncles told me their side of the story. They said he came to him, after the war ended. One night he said, hey, there's an American boat, military boat that's going to meet there at this beach at something like 4 a.m. We got to be there, or whoever wants to go to wherever that boat is taking us. We got to go. I don't know if he knew that. I don't think he actually exactly knew if he was going to Vietnam or not, or to America. I'm sorry. So he told his brothers and sisters and his mom and says, if you guys want to go, this is the spot, 4 a.m. He shows up 4 a.m. and he's the only one there. Now he's got brothers and sisters where some of the sisters have husbands that are more communist minded. And so they wanted to stay in Vietnam. They didn't want to go into America. Then he had some brothers that were just they were on the fence. They didn't have an allegiance. They just didn't like the war, but they didn't know what to do. Those two brothers had wives, but those wives they weren't siding with the communist side at all. They were very neutral. I think my dad was saying, like, if those brothers came, they couldn't bring their wives with them, because it'd have to be blood related to my dad, I guess. So he showed up by himself, and nobody was there with him. And he jumps on a boat, and it takes him. He learns later that it's going towards the Philippines, which during that time they took some of the refugees there, and then they waited some time. Then he ended up in Chicago. But imagine going to a beach by yourself after you told your family you're going.
I mean, do you think that you would have made that trip? Like, I always wonder about things like this. It's funny because my father also landed in Chicago, from his area as well. Same thing. But luckily he was a professional soccer player, and he got to transfer over to play for a team at the time called the Chicago Mustangs. And that's how he got over here. Mm-hmm. But I always wonder about, like, what would I do? He could have made more money out where he was at the time, mm-hmm. all those things, but he believed there was more opportunity out here. So he's like, all right, I'm just going to follow that lead. But I don't know if our generation or my generation have ever had to make life-changing decisions like that because of the comfort that I have. The convenience that has always kind of been there. I haven't had this unbelievably inconvenient situation, and I have to look at my parents and just be, like, grateful for that, I think, in a lot of ways, because that's what it's about. It's about the generational wealth. I'm on this planet to make my children's lives easier. That's why I'm here. That's the whole point, right? So I'll do every sacrifice so they have an easier route. My parents obviously did that, and they had decisions just like your father that I don't even know if I'd be capable of doing. What about you? I mean, what are your thoughts on
for my dad? That one's when I asked him about his feelings that day. He's I had to go. If I didn't go, the communists would have came down because I forgot to add, he fought on the American side of the war. He was in the military in southern Vietnam. He joined the American side and fought along with Americans. So if he stayed, the North was going to, come down and capture anybody, put them in prisons and beat the shit out of them or kill them. So now I think when you asked that question, I thought about my uncles. That's where I think they would have been more. I feel like it's more scary their route than my dad's route. Like at least my dad was running to potentially something better, where my uncles were staying for an unknown future. Two of the three uncles, this gets into their financial business now, but they've done very well after post-war, like very well. So them choosing to stay actually turned out really, really good for them. But at that time, I don't know, like fearing for my life. If I was them, I feel like I would have went if I was in those uncles' shoes. So.
And that's just it, man. That's the great thing about everybody's story in every life is like there's these decisions that really just change the events of everything. Like we're all in this time right now. We're in this tear of time or whatever, and we affect everybody around us in some capacity, no matter what we're doing. But it's just so fascinating that the options to go for somewhere better never really felt like it was as real as I hear in the past. I never felt like, okay, I can totally move from here to, let's just say, Sweden, Switzerland. But I feel like my life would be the same as long as I moved to like a westernized culture that I know, I guess.
Yeah.
So I didn't see the point in it. And that's the crazy thing is you don't see the point because you feel like it's not going to be better. It's just going to be the same. And that always brought this kind of, going back a little bit to what you're saying about my role as what I always saw when I entered a room, whenever I entered something like that, there are people that look at me and say, this guy's white all day long. But there's other people that are like, no, you're not. You're from Montenegro. You're Greek, you're Italian, you're something over there. You're not. And I'm Eastern European. But I would always adapt to the role that the people wanted me there to, just so I didn't get in any kind of conflict or I didn't have to defend anything because I was, grateful to be here because my father let me here, and that complacency, I mean, that's the thing. We all have a little bit of complacency. I always felt that way. We all have a little bit of conformity, that we do to make our lives better, and that's the thing about America that I was always taught at a young age. It's like, it's not fair. There's all these things you're going to see, these injustices that we can talk about till the end of time. But my father would tell me things like, hey, know the rules of the game before you play. You're not going to like the rules ever, but when you know them, you'll know how to play. And so I've always lived my life by trying to figure out the rules before I got in, despite whatever the case may be. Now, if I don't like the rules, the only way for me to fix it is to somehow get on top of those people that will never let go, work my whole life to do that, and then disseminate it and change the rules. But guys like me that I've seen in my life, they always get to like right there. I've had enough, and they go down, and the people stay in power. And again, it's such a hard decision to look back on in any way to think like there was a time where we could have moved and done exactly a magical thing for our families, for everybody, started over just like our parents did. And I don't have really any regret. I'm not saying that, but there's always that wonder of what if at 25, I took my wife and I said, let's go to Australia, see what happens. Let's go to, wherever and see what happens and see if we don't feel that cloud, of never really fitting in, but understanding the roles, and that's I feel that way. I'm a role player in a lot of my life.
It's an interesting thing to put it as. You said you kind of, because your father explained to you that these are kind of the rules and learn the rules and kind of play with them. I think as for my dad coming to Chicago, trying to learn English and then having to work 2 or 3 jobs. I think at one point he was working 3 jobs to try to get by. I am so grateful that he did what he did to take care of me and my brother. But then I think he didn't have, or I don't think he had the opportunity to teach us those things because he was too busy on that, if that makes sense. Now, there could have been the language barrier because when he came here, he said he didn't know any English, so he had to just get by. I couldn't imagine coming to America, not knowing English and then finding 2 or 3 jobs. That just baffles me. How did he get by? Like,
this is the story of so many first generation Americans. Like, I can tell you my mom's situation was the same. I told you my dad was a professional soccer player. When I was 9, he was paralyzed, you know? And so my mom had to take care of me, my brother, and my father fully at 9 years old. Couldn't speak English well, couldn't write, you know, couldn't read. She would virtually wake up and clean the apartments that we lived in and then go to dealing school at night and then get a dealing job. And it would be like a 12-hour thing. And my father, who couldn't walk, had to somehow just teach us with words, you know,
wow.
And we had to listen. And it's like, you look at that. And that's what I mean by this generational wealth. Like, I can't complain about a thing, is because they never gave up on us. They never lost sight of their responsibility. The rules changed and they had to adapt to those rules, and they weren't really fair, but there wasn't anybody to help them because their family obviously was in a different situation, which eventually would be even worse. And I look at someone like my mom, and it taught me this stability and this family structure and this attitude of, like, you know, all these things that might beat people down. It never, ever beat my mom down, never beat me down. You know, I didn't have kids till much later in life. I was lucky. I found I worked so hard because I wanted to get ahead. Same thing, man. I went to college. Me and my brother both graduated college, you know, and I was working out here in Las Vegas. I was working at the pool at Mandalay Bay from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. Okay. Then I had to work at the Brendan Theater in the Palms doing the IMAX from 5 to midnight. And then I went to school in between that time at UNLV. So I didn't have any sleep. I would virtually get off at midnight, roll to 6 a.m. And this was an everyday thing. And this was 5 years of my life. And I can say this, like Johnny Brendan, the guy that owned Brendan Theaters, he saw me working and doing my homework. He wanted to help me out. He put a bed in there so I can sleep. And then there was like a key card to his room that had a shower. He let me shower there. Wow. You know, so kindness comes from all that see that you're really out there working and trying hard. And that got me through college, those little things, because I had no sleep. And after college, the same mentality stayed with me. I've always had 2 or 3 jobs. You know, it's always been a thing where I know that I live in a society that's, you know, capitalistic, and money is something that matters. And if I work harder, I can get ahead. But my issue has always been I have ethics. I'm ethical, you know, and ethical capitalism is something I dream of, but it's not something that we live in, you know. And so I would rather take less money on one of my second jobs, do honest work, and show people that side, you know. And that's the thing that I think I did learn from my mom and dad, is that if you figure it out, it will work, you know, but you'll have to work harder than everybody else. So I completely believed in that mantra my entire life. And then I exuded it. I mean, it got to a point where I'm making 6 figures and I'm still throwing freight at a grocery store 1 day a week just because I want to be. This is what I did my whole life. I worked at different grocery stores for 20 years. Oh, not 20 years. That wasn't that long, but close to. You know, I started when I was 16. And I kept that job. Didn't need the money, nothing. Oh, what do you want to do with that money? You know, I'm just going to put it in a savings account for my kid. So every one of those paychecks I'll never see because I don't need it. But, you know, it'll add up for my kid down the road. And I did that for 8 years before I was like, all right, dude, like, you don't have to work graveyard on Saturdays. You're allowed to have a day off, you know? So, and
the generational wealth is a really interesting factor to throw into that. When I look at my dad's opportunities here and him having to work 3 jobs, and he eventually was able to buy us a house. He actually probably would have been able to buy one earlier. There was some family drama that cost quite a bit of money. I think it held him back from buying a house earlier. But I mean, what I'm getting at, with 3 jobs, he would have been able to buy a house much earlier if it wasn't for the family drama. Then when I look at me jumping into software engineering, and I feel like I almost skipped 1 or 2. That's tough to. I want to word it as, okay, when there's first generations that may come here and they may have big opportunities because their parents came from money, or their parents came and they had certain wealth come with them, or certain opportunities. But my dad had nothing. He came from nothing. He had to learn English. He had to find 3 jobs. But then when you look at me, or when I tell the story, I think, wow, I see other, gosh, I'm doing a terrible job of trying to explain this. I see other first generation Vietnamese that come here. And I would say, unfortunately, there's always 2 sides to a story. I would say, unfortunately, they stay in the Vietnamese community in America, and they keep their kids in the Vietnamese community, and their kids may not learn English as well as I did. So then their job opportunities are going to vary. And I've seen it. I had friends that I have Vietnamese friends that stayed in that way. And when they look at my salary compared to theirs, they're like, dang, what the heck?
And we were willing to assimilate, because culture is very important. It finds you a community. It finds you someone, to really, truly relate to, that understands you. Culture is very, very important. Our choice to assimilate, we gave up some culture. And I mean, that's just the facts of it. We gave up some culture to get to where we're at. Like I said, the rules of the game sometimes, like, okay, well, I want to get here. Okay, well, I have to give up a little bit of that, and I can't help out as much, and I have to focus inward. But also in that whole thing, I was able to reject all the negative things that I saw, going on, because I was willing to work hard. I didn't have any kind of addiction issue, in Las Vegas, Nevada, which a lot of my friends did. We grew up in a very, very poor area. There were drugs, there were people that died. There were a lot of things that were happening until my mom worked her way up till she was about 35, 36 and got herself, a townhome. And that's what we moved into. But that journey of 20 years for her, but like 15 years for me, because I was all the way in high school where we were in a 1-bedroom apartment me and my brother shared. It's a long game type of thing. But because of those 2, I didn't look at the drugs that were across the way. I didn't look at drinking, despite the commercials hitting me every day, this and that. Like, we're not a sober society. We all know that's America. It's a party society. It's something sold to us to make us think like, no, this losing control is the great time in life. That was never something that appealed to me, and that's also part of, the ability to see people work hard and have no excuses. It was something inbred without even being told to me. Don't make life harder, make it better. I have come to accept that 70% of my life will belong to a job, will belong to other people. And that 30% for my family, I just need that to be what my life's about. So yeah, it's not my time. I don't get it all, and I never will. And
I would say, jumping to that comment, where 70% of your life will be for working and towards making money and whatnot. I feel like my dad's time, and then to me, I felt like I've jumped so many almost generations where I almost feel entitled. Now this is I'm a first world problem complainer. Like I like, what would be some examples? Shoot, I don't know. Like I look for jobs where a 40-hour a week job, but then I also want the upper management to understand that being a software engineer, working 40 hours a week or 50 hours a week chained to your desk there's not a happiness factor. And doing software, like, you gotta be comfortable. Like, there's a lot that goes on in the mind to produce good code, in my opinion. And I feel like it really hampers the quality of my code if I feel like I'm chained to my desk. Now, that's a first world problem so
my wife is a web developer. So, I mean, the joy she has when she can, like I said, not on the same level, but the joy she has that when she gets time alone to break whatever she's working on, or the schooling or anything like that, Yes, and she's told me many times she can do her job from home.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she can multitask, focus, and do all those things. But I mean, unfortunately, I believe the idea for years is that you can't be as productive at home as you can at work because they don't trust people to motivate themselves. I think this is a falsehood. I truly do. I think that if you have someone with the proper attitude, that they have to prove to themselves that they can do it. Now, how do you change that? You move up the ladder and then you disseminate it down.
Yeah, exactly.
It might be 80, but that's the only way to do it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That long game, man. It's hard, man.
Yeah.
But anyway, so first world problems. I want to hear more that you feel like you may have. I'm the total opposite, dude. I swear. I refuse to complain about anything. It's like I see this crazy silver lining in everything, even when I'm a victim.
That's awesome. I feel bad when I complain about I guess when people get to know me, I will open up about those things, but I'm a little bit careful if I just met somebody. I think I mean, how would I explain? I usually open up. That's hard to say. I usually open up anyways, but then in social gatherings where if a lot of people just met me, I think it's different in an online podcast. Like I'm open all the time, so it's different in person because you might only get to meet that person for 15 minutes, whereas this online thing 3 hours, like they will get to know me or they will get to understand. Okay, he said that, but he does understand that. There's more, like if I complain about software engineering and then working 40 hours, I would prefer to work about 32, 35 hours a week because my mind produces better code that way.
Yeah, it's different. I understand.
Yeah. So that, I guess that's, I feel like I have a fairly decent understanding of the world. But I do feel, I don't want to say entitled. I feel like I search. Maybe it's closer to the rules of the game. I feel like I understand some of the rules, and I push I push away the things I don't like, and I try to really grab the things I do like. So
it's a different world, and this is the thing. Like whenever I did a podcast about like dance marathons or something like that, when the radio happened in the 20s, how the world changed, right? Just like the internet or film or anything like that, it changes us, right? But what it does is it brings convenience. Convenience can bring two things: entitlement and ignorance. Learning the hard way, as dumb as it sounds, to be like, all right, here's a map. Go find yourself to Arizona. A map, a piece of paper. Why would I do this? Because this is the hard way. I did it. I made it. I followed this thing. I made a little line. It was a bunch of work and it worked. Okay, well, that's the hard way. Now use your GPS the rest of your life. Like that little bit of that story of my co-host Brandon shared a story recently about when he was 9 years old and he had $2. Him and his friend were like, there was a McDonald's like 2 miles away and their parents were like, you guys can go together. Really? And they drove in like Las Vegas sun in the summertime and they went and they had $2 and they couldn't buy 2 hamburgers because there was, tax. So they had to, so they got 1 hamburger, they split it in half and they ate it. And it was the greatest hamburger he ever had because he had to drive for it and work for it. It wasn't through a car. It wasn't through a window. It wasn't through that stuff. And that is where I think convenience, it does allow us to be entitled. I'm the same. There's no doubt about it because I'm living in this world. There's nothing in this world that will change me. Like you can see the CDs behind me. I have a Blockbuster video of DVDs upstairs. I have vinyls everywhere and I'm showing my kids, this is the only way you can listen to a record is by using this needle. When you burn out your needle, we can't replace it. You understand? You can only watch movies on this VHS tape, which I also have. Or I'm showing them the hard way and they're like, why can't I just use the phone? I know you can at grandma's because I'm showing you right now that you're going to have a physical thing in your hand. And then eventually, this is not going to matter to you, but at least I'm showing you that there's a process, to walking through, picking something out, reading the back. What's this about? All these little dumb things, that don't really add up. But in essence, I guess, mean that you have to try. And that's something that is so important and convenience does kill is that I don't appreciate something if I don't have to try.
Yeah. I think connecting being a first generation Vietnamese with learning the hard way, whether it be learning English, learning math. I spent so much of my time with so much of my childhood having an identity crisis of not being white in an all white county. Like I was one of the few Asian, I was probably, I don't know, 1 out of 5 Asians in that whole county. So I was battling with my mind, so much of that. I wasn't spending enough time learning. In my opinion, I wasn't spending enough of my brain learning science, history, English, math. And then when I look at my cousin who's half Vietnamese, but he he looks more white than, he doesn't look Asian at all. Mm-hmm. When I talk to him and he tells me his stories of learning certain things so easily, and his mind was just, he conceptually thinks about things. I'm like, when he told me that, I'm like, fuck, why didn't I conceptually think about things when I was younger? I kept on trying to memorize a word I was trying to memorize the word for itself and not conceptually thinking how that word breaks down into separate parts and then how to think about that word. So I feel like that was, but it's tough to say, is that his brain or is it his upbringing or is it my Asian things that hampered that? So,
but see, this thing is, I don't think it hampered anything. Everybody on this planet needs identity. Everybody needs to love themselves. Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
I forgot to add on that. I went on a 10. It was meant to go to the end where I do feel that I have more fun on a lot of things, and he conceptually thinks about things before he doesn't have fun doing things because he conceptualizes. So later in life, I feel like I have more fun than he does. But that's
that's perfect. Let me jump on what I feel about that, because everything's case by case. Everybody's different, but there is a dynamic, and I've always felt that I know rules of life, basic rules I live by. Love everyone, trust a few. John Bush lyric. You can't love anyone on this planet, not your kid, not your wife, not your mother, until you love yourself. I truly believe that. Okay, I don't think you can disseminate something that's my belief system. Love without feeling it for you. Because we are self-destructive by nature. All we see is self-destruction. All we want is self-destruction. So we have to beat that, as a young person. But what I was going to say is that being the outcast, and that's how I felt my whole life, and I think a lot of people feel that, being the outcast has always allowed me to find my identity so much faster and be grounded, because I didn't fit in with everybody else. So I got to figure this out by myself. I can't be just like you. I can't be just like her, like everybody else. I got to be myself. Fine. So you dig in, you find your own identity, you don't look around, and then you know who you are at such a younger age, and you learn to love yourself at such a younger age. People trying to fit in find themselves trying to fit in forever, and they don't get it. There's a blessing to being an outcast. There's such a blessing to not fitting in with the surroundings that I had, that I realized later in life to be like, you know what, man, I didn't make those bad decisions because I was just like, well, I'm not like them. Why would I do that? Oh, that's a good thing. Oh, wow. I always thought that was a bad thing. Wait a second. It wasn't a bad thing. Okay. I love what I love, and I had to experience it with myself. And I feel like, again, and it's not an ego thing. I feel like because I didn't fit in and I was different than what was around me, when my language wasn't right, my words were slurred, I made my voice deeper so it sounded like I can speak English better. My English sounds good, right? And my voice is permanently deep now. It's great. So it all worked out to where I wanted it to be without even realizing. I used to be like soft voice and quiet because I don't want to say this wrong. And now I'm like loud and deep. We can do this. And we're good, So, man, I embrace that at this age. And I'm not saying it was the same way when I was a teenager, as being an outcast, realizing that, I didn't quite ever fit in with the people that were, when we're kids, who's God to us? Cool. The word cool, feeling cool, being cool, looking cool, everything like that. I get it. That's it. That's God. I mean, not to use I know that's a biblical term, but not to use anything crazy, but that is all that matters, is to somehow have those you don't give a shit about love you, right? Mm-hmm. Well, that's empty, man. And because I never bowed down to the God of cool, and I decided just to figure out what I enjoyed and then find the people like me, it got me through a lot less self-destruction, which again, I mean, that's first generation, 7th generation, 10th generation. we breed self-destruction within ourselves, man. That's what we're taught watching anything out there, because we're not good enough. You know, I look at the younger generation. I'm like, yeah, I had a lot of misogynistic, crazy, you know, movies that I loved. And but it was always like, there were always one factor, like say it's huge muscles on guys that were doing impossible shit. And me being like, I want to be that badass. Right. And now the younger kids, superheroes, Inhumans. You got to be better than human to feel like you matter. That's you, man. You got to be better than human, you know? Yeah. And then us at our age, we're like, you know what? Money this and money this. And money is the commodity that helps life be more convenient, easier. And it's necessary. And I'm not going to say anything bad. I live in a capitalistic society. I do feel capitalism is bad on a lot of levels, but it's the least worst by far, proven. So exactly. I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna complain about capitalism. Do I like
I think that statement was said on the very last podcast I had.
Yes. Oh, okay, yeah. I got, and I do bite this because with my show Rise to Fat, I do a lot of clips and I learn a lot of stuff when I'm educating about that. But that statement was brought, or I heard that by Max Kellerman on the episode when we did Colin Kaepernick. That's where I heard that statement. So I'm sorry I bit it, but I truly believe that, you know. And that's how it is. So I accept that rule, you know, and that's really where, so if capitalism is the least worth, ethical capitalism is like, hey, this cost me $1, I'll sell it to you for $2. That's 100% profit. That's ethical. Okay. That's out the window. You know, it doesn't work. But this greed, this disgusting greed that we have in this culture, it lets us all conveniently be convenient. Without that greed, without that money, all 350 million people wouldn't have this convenience, wouldn't understand this entitlement. So it's like, there is a positivity to greed. That's gross. I don't feel it, but like, we have to understand that other cultures and other places, they don't have this convenience. They have to learn it the hard way. And I personally feel that's a good thing to learn it the hard way, but I don't see it anymore. You know, we have to be better than human in order to matter to ourselves, unless, you know, we take a different path. And you're an outcast, and you're like, I don't fit in anyway. So
yeah, I agree.
Everything about that is. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, the outcasting is there's. I guess I want to sum it up and say to each. Do I want to say to each their own? No, that might not be the correct one. But when you talk about you being an outcast and trying to learn about yourself quicker than most, unfortunate for me, trying to be cool and popular until. I want to say till the age of 24, because not only just a popular thing, but also I lived in a predominantly white neighborhood, and that caused me and my brain. I remember there was one day that when I was about 16 or so, I forget. I remember the day what happened. I was heading out to a party, me and my friends, all my white friends, we were all getting ready for the party. So I'm looking in the mirror, doing my hair, whatnot, brushing my teeth. Something hit me. I looked in the mirror and I'm thinking about all my friends, all of them are all white people. I'm going to a party with all white people, and something, when I looked in that mirror, I remember that day, something hit me and said, you're not white. It was something, I guess, mentally terrible, but yet I didn't know how to deal with it. No kid put in that position, probably not too many would know how to deal with it. It was confusing. It wasn't until I was 24, so 7 years later, where something hit me and just said, you know what? What the fuck are you doing? Why are you trying to make other people happy, especially all these white people that you will never, ever be, I don't want to say of equal. You will never, in that situation, you will not fit in, if that makes sense.
Absolutely,
Yeah. So it took me a long time, I think until 24 to kind of figure that out. Then the next phase was around 29 when I was mature enough to put all the pieces of whether it be capitalism to self-esteem to my financial situation. Am I being a consumer because I'm trying to keep up with the Joneses and all? So it was around 29 or 30 that all came together. I'm like, yeah, I'm finally fucking better because I don't care about no one. I just do things for me. I don't give a fuck about anyone. So it took. I feel like when I look at my cousin, he had that when he was like 18 or 17. Well, he didn't. When we talked to him, he feels like he got out of shell when he was 27. So it would be interesting to ask him getting out of your shell, was there any feeling of being half Asian that have any effect on that? But from my perspective, looking at him when I was younger, I'm like, dude, you have it so much more figured out so much earlier. It wasn't until 27 for me where I felt like I was getting in the groove, and 30 was really where I felt really in the groove. So,
my journey was like, and I don't want to get into deep waters here, sorry, but my journey was unfortunately forced. Like my dad, when I was 23, he took his life, and the second something real like that happens, and like the person that you worship, that taught you everything, that, I mean, I quote him like crazy on every show and every lesson. I have since 23 made sure I don't disappoint a ghost, someone that's not here anymore, and before that, I did just like you, like anybody. I had this journey. I wanted to make sure that people liked me, that I didn't care about. I wanted to make sure that I was special for whatever reason in the world, And after that, I was like, you know what? Real things happen. And I'm virtually doing a lot of things that aren't real, that don't matter. I'm not creating love. I'm not being kind, I'm a victim all these times, but I'm also victimizing. Like I'm not better, during that time frame, because the insecurities and what would motivate my anger and all those things, I was an aimless arrow, and I think a lot of people have to deal with that, to be like, I just feel this way and my feelings are fucking real, and so you're going to get it. And then I'll explain it off later. I'm sorry I yelled at you so much. And let me just clarify, by victimize, I didn't victimize anybody criminally in any way. I'm talking about I unleashed on people with anger.
Yeah, when you
didn't deserve it.
When you reflect on it later, yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is. That there was apologies owed to, like, why did I yell at this poor girl that liked me? Because I didn't feel the same way. Why did I do stuff like that? It's because I didn't feel anything real. Yeah. Reality happened to me right after my father's passing. And then I was like, man, there's only one thing that I know. And one of the last things he said, and again, I'm going to try to hold this in because my dad, I can't tell you, he's one of the greatest guys in the world. One of the last things he said to me, and this was about a week, and it's one of the things I remember, is he like, hey man, hey, just promise me, no matter what you do on this world, whoever's around you, make sure they're kind people. I'm like, why would I not be around people that aren't kind? It's like, you don't really resonate. Wow. Put kind people around you. Just make sure every one of them are kind, and that's it. And all those other types, keep them away. And then I was like, all right, well, I can't really control that, smart ass kid. And then later on in life, I'm like, my attitude does control people's kindness. My attitude does show people things, and my day job, I mean, I work with so many people, kind, beautiful, amazing, awesome. And we all have our own agenda because we all are in competition with each other and we all want to be good, but we're a team. But it is such a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing. And every one of those people have the same mentality. And that is such a big weight of, maybe they have that mentality when I walk in the room and I give it to them too. Because I hear stories from other people, they're not this way. I hate that concept, or maybe it's a stereotype, that Americans only converse through complaining. Oh God, the weather's so bad. Oh God, did you see what's on this? Let me show you. And that's how they connect, is through complaining, that kind of stereotype. And yeah, we see it. We know people that only feel comfortable to say that something's not right. I always fought against that, and I've seen that if you fight against that culturally and accept things and are kind, then you're good, with your environment. Of course, everything's case by case. I stand by that. I've always been that way.
Yeah, case by case. Jumping to the, so for me to kind of find myself I was also I was super outgoing when I was in high school. I didn't really find myself until starting 24 and then 27 and then really finishing at around 30. But then I feel like I have family. I have, I don't want to name them. I have some family, 3 or 4 of them, where I feel like they're still struggling with the being Asian. Identity. Yeah. But it's subtle. Theirs is, one of them, they seem to want to surround themselves around what white around white people and what white people do, which is totally fine. But I think it's one thing to just realize and say, like, okay, I'm happy doing this, and that's fine. That's what I want. But I think he hasn't. They haven't. He hasn't realized.
Get your pronouns right. Come
on. He doesn't realize it. I think it's one. I guess it's one.
I'm so sorry. Yeah, we can't make people realize anything. Hard lessons, take their own journey. You know, there's so much struggle in the world right now where we're telling people, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this. And it's like, you know what? There's a hard lesson for all of us. You know, there's serious ignorance out there when it comes to certain things like racism, for example.
Mm-hmm.
The only way they're going to learn isn't by me screaming at them or telling them how stupid they are. They think that the pigment of their skin makes them better than someone else.
Yeah.
They're going to meet someone like that, or homophobia. They're going to meet someone and be like, this guy's a great guy.
Yeah.
This guy's, what am I doing? But I can't force that journey, you know, and we can't force anything. It's the saddest thing to me that we are a bully culture when it comes to ignorant people.
Yeah.
And what that does is that makes ignorant people defensive, and it makes ignorant people dig their heels in and say, I'll find someone that thinks like me, instead of being like, I'm going to ignore you and I'm going to let you take your journey. I'm not here to bully anybody. I feel you're wrong, you know, and I mean, that's a lot of the reasons, like, for when we switched format on that podcast, is like, I don't want to say anything and just be another opinion. I want to tell stories of people that were pretty offensive, why they were offensive, and show them as humans in a lot of ways, you know?
Yeah.
And, but I think going back to what you're saying about that journey for identity, that's a big thing in the last 5-10 years, that journey for identity and not fitting in. And one thing I'll say positively, because I always end on positive, sorry. But I know people don't like that, but one thing I'll say positive, if you are someone without an identity that is in a town, say you're in Arkansas and, you know, you're a gay kid and you can't find anybody like you and it's awful, I guarantee you in these 50 states, have the courage that your dad had and find that community. They're here. There's love for you in these 50 states. Yeah. They're here. You just have to do it for yourself. You have to love yourself and say, hey, I'm a transgender. I got to go find some more people like me and learn that I can love myself and understand there's a community. If you're a transgender in an area that is homophobic, man, it's a lot of courage. And I was never on that scale of identity. I always accepted, you know, I was accepting. I'm like, yeah, this is fine. I'm good with this. I'm not going to rock the boat. But my point is that I know in the 50 states of America, there is a community that will show you every positive thing in the world. There's a community of kind people. You just have to make that. It's not a boat trip, but you have to make the trip, you know, there to that area, find it. And, you know, when my dad passed, I volunteered. I did suicide prevention for a long time. And that was part of my coping mechanism. Whenever something real happens, I had to refine my identity. The guy was the day before my father passed on July 19th. July 18th, I have no idea who that guy is on July 19th, the day my father passed, you know? And I talked to a lot of people that just, whether it be with addiction, whether it be with just sadness, whether it be with body shaming themselves because of everything I've said, whatever it might have been, you heard that their belief system turned to hopelessness. Their belief system and their environment was hopeless. It's over, you know, and talking to a stranger sometimes that goes away. That's why suicide prevention is such a fantastic thing, you know, because you talk to a friend or a neighbor, it's like, you think you're bothering. Call all day if you guys feel that way. But my point is that conversation, I never know what happens with anybody after that stuff. In those years, I learned more about empathy. I learned more about, you know, loving the things that I'm lucky to have, whatever it may be, you know. And I learned more about how much people would rather die than love themselves and find their own identity, you know?
Yeah.
And that's the thing. This identity thing is so vital for our children, for everybody, you know? and we can't help them. We can't. All we can do is be kind. And I've never been in a situation where racism was just blatant, you know, like just absolutely, like I'm not, that's crazy. And I'm lucky to say it. I've never seen it. And I know it exists. And if I did see it, I would really think about my environment and why I'm there and really look for different people, you know, and make a move. And that's something, go ahead.
I've only been in, I think, 2 situations. One that was directly at me, and one that questioned kind of what you, maybe what you said. I questioned why I was there. The direct one was just, I think it was like something like 11 p.m. at night. There's like a 7-Eleven down the corner, and I was just craving like ice cream or something. So I walked down to 7-Eleven, grabbed an ice cream. I went by myself, and I'm walking back, and there was 3 people, 1 female, 2 guys. One of the guys was super drunk, like he could barely walk. I think as we're walking past each other on the sidewalk, right as I'm about to pass him, I think the drunk guy started to like fall and he couldn't walk. And then he saw me look over, and then he's don't look at me, you fucking Asian. Just keep on walking. And I was like, what the fuck? I would say I'm fortunate enough where I haven't had, I was 20, I think I was actually 27 at 28 at that point, somewhere around there. So 28 years old and not really have too many racist issues, racist events. So I didn't know what to say. I was like, whoa, what the fuck? I said, what the fuck, I think. And then the other guy that wasn't as drunk, he's just walk away, just walk away. And then I was like thinking, shit, do I try to fight this, or this seems really stupid if I fight? I'm 28 years old. This would be stupid. Like, and then I was like, well, there's one guy that's really drunk, so I only have to worry about the guy that doesn't look as drunk, I think. But then I ended up just walking away. The other thing that I remember that also made me upset was the girl laughed at me. I was like, what the fuck? 3 people that are just, there's no morality, nothing.
She's enabling. Jerry Seinfeld said that drunk people have 2 modes. I love you or I hate you, right? And they just go one way or the other.
Yeah.
At a young person, you don't realize that. You fight drunk people. I mean, I'm guilty, you know, and you're like, I'll prove no, they're intoxicated. We're not a sober society. If you guys read Twitter or Facebook or social media, when people are yelling at each other, ask yourself how many of those people are not sober. We're not. It's not a part of our culture. Our culture is the opposite, you know? And I'm okay with that. I'm not trying to change the let loose type of mentality, but the ignorance that comes from people who don't even know what they're saying and would regret that and apologize the very next sober moment is very high, because every one of these stupid situations I've seen is almost exactly how you described it. And very good you didn't fight. I've seen situations where someone's completely in the wrong and then a fight happens, and then the person that was in the incident, unfortunately, something bad happens.
Yeah.
Drunk people sometimes will also stab you, or do something dumb. And but you tell me that at 22, man, I would no disrespect. There's a word that, man, I got that out of my vocabulary years ago, but people, it's disrespectful. I don't even know what that means. You know? Sorry, was there a ding on your?
No.
Oh, okay, cool. No, it's in my ear. It's my headphones. Okay, cool. Sorry about that. I had a text message. I don't want it to mess up the audio. So
it's all good.
But yeah, that's the whole thing, is that like, so you realize if you look at your situation now and people are like, all right, what am I dealing with here? I'm not going to respond. I don't respond to venom. I don't respond to hate. I don't even give them kindness. Just walk away, and then hopefully they beat it eventually. Again, their hard lesson, their journey. They want to come here, then let's hang out. I don't want to sound too like shitty here, but like there's people behind me, you know, because I've learned hard lessons in my life. There's people behind me. I don't need to talk to the people behind me. I need to just keep talking here and keep going forward, because every conversation I have back there, I'm going back there to have it, you know, but I learned a hard lesson already to get here, you know? And so I don't mess with that anymore. I mess with here and forward, you know, and that's a hard thing. It's especially growing up, because you have friends that are with you, and then you're like, here, I'm here, and they're still here, and you're like, come on, let me help you up here. They can only help themselves.
Yeah.
And eventually you keep going back there, then you take a few rungs back by just being in the wrong situation.
Yeah.
And but you don't, and that's the thing, is you never know which friends those really, I'm sure sometimes you do, but you never really know which friends those really are until later on in life. You're like, wow, the whole time that was like, that guy ruled. He was the coolest dude I knew. Man, I wanted to hang out with him. I hung out with him every time. And then you realize, wow, if I followed there, I might be in jail.
Exactly.
I might be, and you're like, oh, thank God I was an outcast and I didn't fit in. And I found my identity. It's like you go back, like, thank God my journey was a little harder on all these little things. That's the thing. I grew up in a poor neighborhood. I didn't have, white people weren't around me. I grew up around African Americans, Hispanic people. There were gang members around, and they would call me white boy. I wouldn't correct them, even though I'm like, well, I'm not technically white, but I'll take white boy. I'm not going to correct ignorance with, just like, throw your ignorance at me. I don't care, but I never went back and called them anything based on their race. And I'm proud of myself for that.
Did you get in fights over that? Or
every day we got in fights, man. We eventually, my dad got us boxing gloves. Now I know you can't tell. I'm 6'3". I got long, dude. I'm long, right? Me and my brother were long, dude. And so my dad got us boxing gloves because every day, what ended up happening, I guess I could tell a little story to see where I got the boxing gloves, because two things happen. When you grow up in an apartment complex, man, it's just chaos for the kids because mom and dad are working 2 jobs. They can't do nothing. You find a little pack and dude, you just pretty much start trouble. I think that's all you do, right? We had a basketball court in my apartment complex and that was the savior. So we would just play basketball all the time. But if we weren't playing basketball, let's egg a house. Let's like anything bad. Let's break into a boatyard, things like that, which is all these things occurred. But so eventually we would fight all the time, be friends the next day, but it would be fist fights after fist fights. So we were playing hide and seek. And again, we're looking at like 9, 10 years old, 11, maybe, hide and seek. And I told this guy, you're not ever going to get me. I don't care. You're never going to tag me, whatever. So what ends up happening is that we get to a point where there is a 2-bedroom apartment and I'm here, base is right behind me and he's standing at base. And so he runs at me. I run up the stairs. I open the door, break into a lady's apartment, right? And she's just in the kitchen. What are you doing? Go to the balcony, jump off the balcony like a movie, land, both my ankles are done, crawl to base, tag base. You didn't get me, off to the hospital, right? And my dad's like, you guys, that's it. When you got to be men, here's some gloves. And we're like, we're not going to do this boxing thing. So that's what we ended up doing. We got boxing gloves. We went to a volleyball court with dirt and we would just fight. So you'd see these kids fighting all the time. and because boxing, like growing up in Vegas, boxing is a sport. Every great fighter the last 30 years I got to see live, from Tyson to, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., Mayweather, Pacquiao, you name it. I've seen them all, and so boxing was your sport. Now it's MMA. I know people. You ain't got to tell me. Boxing has had mismatches for years. But so to actually have the gloves as a kid that was a fan of the sport, you're like, wow. So every time we're about to get in trouble, go get the gloves. Go get them right now. Because we, A, knew it wouldn't hurt as bad, getting punched with the glove. And then B, there'd be a clear winner, So
yeah, nice.
So fighting became more apparent after the boxing gloves, but nobody was bleeding and we still cried. I ain't gonna lie, people punch you in the face, you cry, but and that was kind of the upbringing. But I never. So that's the thing. Go ahead.
So it didn't like have a negative. Like it didn't cause you to hate. This is gonna sound bad the way I question it, but stay with me, I guess. So say if it was a Mexican and a black person that always was picking on you, it didn't cause you, if they got in fights with you, it didn't cause you to have a racism towards Mexicans or blacks?
No, it caused me, there's I'm going to go with the bad thing and then I'm going to go with probably the good thing. It caused me to accept I was inferior to those guys in some way. It did cause me to feel that way. Okay. And you know, it was a Mexican and a black dude that were picking on me, so we can use that. It's a perfect reference. I can name drop them right now. Right? It caused me to, in essence, be like, well, I'm the only white guy here. I'm with my brother or whatever, white boy, even though I'm not technically white.
Yeah.
You know, around here, so it's like, all right, I am. That's what I am. So I accepted the role. I accepted the role of the white boy in the group. No problem. You know. And then it also taught me to learn that their insecurity and that there was a big part of them that's all they had against me. That's all they could, because Pete didn't mess up. Pete wasn't messing up. I was doing everything right. Shut up, white boy. Okay, that's all you got on me. Doing all right. You know, so eventually I took the role as the white boy, but I also, you know, saw it as a positive thing, even though in a lot of ways it was a negative. And you can spin positives to negatives. But no, I never had a racism towards them. I always, racial slurs at that time frame, whether it was coming from wherever thing, it had, I don't want to say a sense of, because of a lot of the music we listened to, it had a sense of cool, and it had a sense of community, like, you know, with the music and the upbringing in the 90s, you know. And it's tough for people to believe that. But yes, you would have white guys calling each other the N-word, not meaning anything about it, and being like, yeah, well, that's how I feel inside. Identity, you know? Yeah. And it's like, it's cool. Yeah, that's how he feels inside. Whatever. He can use the N-word. And people would move on. I don't think that's okay by any means, but because obviously it's cultural appropriation. Yeah. But hey, let them have the hard lessons. Let them have their own journey. I'm not here to teach anybody anything. I know that it wasn't done out of malicious intent, and it was done to make themselves feel good in some way. So, okay. Yeah. Strange, but strange, but like I said, that's how it was. And that's just the way it is. So I feel growing up in that area, in that community, and being poor at that time in my life, it really made me feel like racism wasn't a thing. Like, hey, we all get along. This is just what it is. You know, he's going to rag on me this way. I'm going to rag on him this way. And then later on, as crazy it sounds, the more educated you get, the more you move up the ladder, you realize, whoa, these guys are actually racist. This is a problem. But in the poorer neighborhoods, racism isn't a thing. It's like, we're all okay. Or we just make fun of each other and then they fight stupid things. But my point is that there is a larger sense in, let's just say, people with less money that might not have the highest education. There's a lot more sense of, you know, community, less racism, less this than that. And then the higher you go, these people's insecurities, it shows their racism. It shows that I'm on this level. You know what? I'm better than you because I have money, because you're this. And it just, you're like, whoa, we're not talking about better than anybody here, buddy. But that drive that they have somehow made them successful in some manner. And so they take it with them wherever they go. Most likely, they're just not sober, and they're bleeding ignorance out there, and their subconscious thoughts of whatever, I don't care, I'm a rock star, I can do what I want, is coming out of them. Doesn't make it okay. You know, self-discipline and self-control is a vital part for us to get together as a community. But I don't want to say I don't hate racist people, because I think it's very ignorant, but I think we can save, you know, I think we can, you know, wait them out in a way, you know. And I feel like the death rattle of when I was in 1990 till today, as crazy as it sounds, it's a lot louder, and it seems like racism is a lot worse than it was 10 years ago. It really does seem that way, but I feel like there is a death rattle of this. Generations don't accept this. It's like basic math that doesn't make sense. You're telling me 1 + 1 = 7. That's what racism is. And me saying, okay, it doesn't make sense. And I think every generation brings something positive. It brings something very positive and something very negative. And that's a long game thing. And I've seen that in my life. I've seen much more positive than negative, you know.
Almost a silly way to connect a tiny perspective on that is back 25 years ago, whenever my mom would take me to a Vietnamese restaurant, there'd probably be maybe at most one white family in that restaurant, because it's a Vietnamese restaurant. 25 years later, holy crap, it's awesome, man. I fucking love going to certain Asian restaurants because you got white people, black people, you got Indian. Like, this is an awesome melting pot that America is starting, that America is, I want to say it's helping, but there are polar bads, but I think America is the leader in this melting pot.
Yeah.
So
I don't disagree with you, man. And inclusive means everyone, even the ones the people you don't like and the ignorant ones and all that stuff, that's inclusive. And they have to get there, I don't want to say they have to conform, but they have to get there. If they don't want to get there and they want to stay over there, hey, be happy, be kind. Yeah. I'm sure they're not, like I said, I'm sure they're not horrible people. And that's something that I've just learned. I don't know. I feel I've learned is that I've never met anybody. I've seen addicts. I've seen people who have done horrible things, things like that. But every one of them, they have redemption. Every one of them eventually are going to get there. The damage they did to other people, it's there's no justice. I don't believe in justice. I never have. I know we have a system for it. But if someone kills someone I love, that person's irreplaceable. They can go to jail for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
It's like, and I'm glad that they're in jail. Don't get me wrong. So it's a good constellation prize, but it's not justice.
Yeah.
Because you take away another human being that is vital. I think about my wife, my kids, and it's like, oh no. This journey is like, there's nothing on this planet. I have to make this last as long as possible, so every day can feel as golden as it feels right now. And my wife is my best friend. She's the greatest thing on the planet, and everything we do is just this connection of happiness. Why am I here? Why did I get to be this lucky?
Yeah.
And I just go back to my dad before he passed. It's like, because she's kind, and I'm kind, and we get it. We share and we nurture and we love, and we bought that into our religion. If I had a religion, if I had a belief system, it is love. That's it. Simple. I think everybody out there. And you know what? With that, I think everybody feels hate, love and hate, same emotion, right? My fear is indifference. It's always been my fear. It's always been my fear is that people just stop caring. When we go to something that I find got me through tough times, art, all day. I go to the Rise to Offend on Henry Rollins. Henry Rollins and my father, those two voices made the most sense for me as a kid growing up. Like, I couldn't even explain. I would read his books and I'd be like, this dude's too angry. What's going on? I don't relate, but I do relate. Then I'd listen to a spoken word. I'm like, he's getting it. And you watch this evolution. If you go from Henry's spoken words of this angry kid who didn't fit in, this outcast, to this intelligent person, to this, then his best friend gets shot in front of him, to this, guy that can teach you a couple things, or two. And then you go to him as an older gentleman and it's just like, why? And that's the thing about it, is that I don't know Henry Rollins. I don't need to know Henry Rollins. I don't know all these artists that we don't like. I watched LA Confidential yesterday, and fantastic Curtis Hanson movie. Kevin Spacey's in it. I know he's not allowed on a lot of people's lists right now, but it's like, I don't do that. It's the art. It's what, there's like 2,000 people that worked in that movie, Guy Pearce's performance should not be negated. You're telling me I can't love Diane Keaton from Annie Hall now because Woody Allen was that performance that she gave is magic. And that's what I always saw the world as. I'm like, I don't look at the artist. If you give someone your art, this interview, whatever we do, we put it out there. It's not ours anymore. It's theirs. Everything Woody Allen gave us when Michael Jackson put out Thriller, that's not his anymore. Okay, the thousands of people that worked on that, right? His name was in the spotlight, but that's not his. It's ours, and that's where I've always found a peace, a common ground, a sense of hope, is from all these troubled people, all these guys or girls that are not maybe all put together. I just watched Bill Cosby himself, and I'm like, man, he's a bad dude, but I will thank you for this art. Thank you for this art. I don't know how you got there. I don't know who taught you to do this. I don't know what happened, but this is mine now. It's not yours anymore, Bill. Okay. Yours is your life. You deal with that, but I will never not give you credit for giving this to people at any time of need. And that's how I've always kind of lived my life and my existence, is that if someone puts it out there, they gave it away. It's like, here you go, it's yours. And that's the thing that saved me the most, is all those artists that did that. All those artists that never even knew I was alone with my headphones on, or watching a movie. Like, I was a teenager when I saw Natural Born Killers, and I was like, this is the future of media? This guy's crazy. It is the future of media. He nailed it. That's exactly what happened, is Natural Born Killers. That's media for profit has become that, but it was just this thing where it was like so ugly. It's doing all these things. And I'm like, I don't see it. I see this warning in my face, slapping me hard. And that also, I think, was a huge part, is that I was alone a lot of times. And I think a lot of people are. But all these people that were grateful enough to send out those things and give them to me, to us, all these artists, doesn't matter what it is, whether it's a horrible horror movie, whether it's a beautiful poem, whether it is with that. And that is like the thesis of a life that I think matters, is taking people's art and giving it truth and giving it love and all that. We all have a belief system that's pure fiction. No matter what, no matter where you come from, it's pure fiction. What you love, what you hate, what you believe in, all that stuff. You do it to make yourself a better person, or you do it to understand what the world's about. But dude, there is no scientific facts. There is no mathematical truth. 1 + 1 = 2. That's mathematical. That's true. Otherwise, your truth after this conversation, my truth after this, is completely different. There's no universal. Yeah, there's no universal truth. And that's really the one thing that I've always hoped people would get back to, and that is, the love of art and not the hate of the person, And I feel like without that, I never would have had a chance, without all those people putting things out there that, bad people, good people, great people, awful people that we don't even know about. We have no idea who's, we can go to whatever record in the world, Led Zeppelin, and say, oh my God, they did this. I don't know. I'll tell you right now, this Led Zeppelin 4 did something for me, and a lot of people apparently, and all that. But the point is that, I guess the point to this almost rant is that the love in my belief system, it's a universal thing with all the art that is in this world that is beautiful. And I get to share that with the people that I love, and I get to share that with the culture of the world. And it taught me not to be racist. It taught me not to be homophobic. We did the kids episode of Rise to Offend and New Queer Cinema. Greg Araki, Gus Van Sant. Dude, I was 9, 10 years old. I had no idea what was happening in the living end when that guy took a baseball racket to another guy's ass and was smacking it. I didn't know what that meant. It was a sexual thing, whatever. All I knew was I understood this nihilism, and New Queer Cinema was one of my favorite things in the world, man. And it made me realize, wow, there's a different lifestyle out there. How cool. And it's accepted out there. How cool, So I got to tell you, the quickest way to kill a racist or kill a homophobic person is to have them fall in love with art and not dilute the message, have them fall in love and really, really go down the rabbit hole. Don't just look at one thing. Go world cinema. Go everywhere. Hey, I can't travel everywhere. You know what? Here's a movie. Check it out. Shot in 1975. Look at France. That's the stuff that I live for. I mean, and that's the stuff that it made my perspective everything. My degree is in film.
Yeah.
And
I want to kind of add, or it's going to be, sounds like it's jumping subjects, but when you're saying art and poems, it made me think about my dad's choice of going from Vietnam to America. There's a poem in there, or there's some type of art, in my opinion, for him to take that sacrifice to leave Vietnam to come to America and then put in the hard work and raise a family and to raise children. And whether there was the goods and bads, like from Vietnam, the culture back then during the poor times before 1975, families didn't have much. So it was often parents beat their kids. It was part of the culture. If a kid breaks the front door for whatever reason, the parents just worked 2 or 3 jobs. Even that was in Vietnam too, because the economy was terrible before 1975. So the parents are going to beat their kid because they broke the door. The kid broke the door. The parents don't got money to pay for this door. What the fuck was the kid doing? So there's like to me, I guess there's art, even though I know it's not like a painting, but that story is almost like a poetic thing for my dad to come from kind of nothing in America, leave something in Vietnam, start from nothing, and then raise me, who now I feel like I'm sort of a slightly entitled person that has a decent job, that I feel like I've even jumped a couple generations. I said earlier, where I see other Asian kids that are raised here stay in the Asian community, but I wasn't that. I was deep into the getting acclimated because my
assimilation.
Yeah, because I was in a predominantly white neighborhood. So there's a poem in there, but not exactly as we typically think about a poem.
There's a film in there. There's beauty there. Jim Sheridan's In America. Bernardo Bertolucci's 1900. These are the stories of people making better lives and running away from the war-torn places, living in small rooms and figuring it out. I mean, there is such a beauty there. And then you watch that and you look at yourself, and you're like, wow, man, like this is, and that's a great thing, is that you're like, this is how people got here. This is how my ancestors came here, and everything they sacrificed to get here, and that's what person can watch the films I just mentioned and not relate, and not understand that, wow, this is a pretty good situation for me, like I didn't have to do that with my kids, or you look at a war-torn movie, if we go with like Peter Weir's The Way Back, and you see these people, these refugees just trying to get somewhere, somewhere. Michael Winterbottom's Greed that came out a couple of years ago. There's another one where it's like you have these refugees on a beach and nobody even lets them go, and you're looking at a guy that's full of money that doesn't care. Art makes you understand money doesn't mean anything. Money is not the greatest commodity on this planet. I know that. Everybody knows that. They just don't admit it. That's the problem. The greatest commodity on this planet, okay, I guarantee you, for every single human being that's walking, is youth. That's it. That's it. It's a small time frame, right? And you get it. And most of us aren't smart enough to enjoy it or know it, or we make mistakes and we self-destructive and all those things, but everybody wants youth. It gets to a point where it's ugly. Look at these poor girls in like the adult industry, look at this right here. It's shock value for these poor girls. They're just taking something beautiful and destroying it, and saying, hey, this is something that they want. It's not, man. It's you're taking what you don't have anymore, that youth, that glow, that glory, that hopefulness, that future, everything. And you're ruining in certain different aspects. And that, to me, has always been the story of our culture. When you're young, you don't care. You don't have to.
Yeah. The
feeling's great. Health, what? COVID? I'm 20, whatever. I don't hate the guy. I think he's wrong, but I don't hate the guy when he's 20. I wonder how I'd react in COVID times when I was 20. I'm just being honest. I wonder if I'd be like, dude, I don't care. I'm going to a concert. Whatever, man. Who cares if I get it? I not saying that would be me, but if I didn't have a hard lesson, it very well might have been. So I'm not judging the poor kids, But luckily, I got to go to high school. I didn't have to stay at home during the pandemic in my senior year and all these tragic things that happened to the youth, during this time. And that's the thing, is that commodity right there, that dream and that we always have, that's the tear, that's the pocket. That's the greatest commodity on this planet. You can't put it in a bottle. You can't do that. It doesn't matter if you're poor. It doesn't matter if you're rich. It doesn't matter if you have youth and you're young. You're alive.
Yeah.
After that, we're trying to be alive. Some of us are destroying those people who have a chance at it because you lost it. Some of us are, doing plastic surgery, doing all kinds of things to feel it just by looking at ourselves in the mirror again. And so money isn't a thing. It's if that's the greatest, if you believe my philosophy, my thesis on youth being the greatest commodity on the planet, if people out there accept that, then they have to come to terms with rebuilding after it's gone and focusing on becoming great people and ignoring that sector and not giving them this huge voice because they're in the pocket of the greatest commodity in the world.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean don't listen to them, but it does mean, don't attack them, and that's the thing. But anyway,
when you're saying youth, I'm also thinking about youth and maybe opportunity. In your youth, when you said you were kind of raised in poverty a little bit, how bad? Like, was there food on the table every day? Did you ever worry about not having food? Or
I had for dinner, I would take loaves of bread, condiments, ranch, and eat the ranch sandwich. That's where we're at.
Wow.
So we would do condiments, and whenever we could, we'd go to a Furs cafeteria, which was like I don't know if it's still around, but it was just like I guess like a Sizzler type of thing. And then eventually got better, like for a long time. My mom wanted us to go to good schools. She wanted us to graduate college. That was like a must thing. So she put us through private school.
Wow.
And me and my brother, and the money went there, and
Wow.
the food was what it was,
Wow.
and I don't look back at any time as I'm hungry, I'm upset. I never did, I don't have the video game systems. My friend, I got to go over to a friend's house to play the Genesis. I don't got it, things like that. I was just like, whatever, there's books, there's a video rental store where I can rent a movie for $1. It's called the Video Time. I can walk to the Video Time and just be like, here's $1 and then watch this. Let me watch Frankenhooker at 12 years old. Sorry, I love horror movies. Yeah, that was one of my favorite movies, still is. Got a t-shirt. Yeah, so you kind of just rolled with the punches. And then, by the time I was 15, by the time I was 16, things got better. And all that hard work that she put in paid off and all that. But yeah, the medical bills after my father, got paralyzed and all these things, you don't realize it at the age I was at, but the weight on my mom's shoulder, that's what I'm trying to say. Like, I'm going to complain, and she got me here. She got me here, and she sacrificed 10, 15 years of just someone else. I'm last in line. Someone else. This is my family. I love them. And that's how I am with my kids. I'm last in line. I want to be last in line. I'm glad to be last in line. You okay? You okay? You okay? Everybody's okay? I'm gonna go. And that's fine. And then hopefully they teach the same thing. I saw right after my dad passed, not to go back to that, but there's a story that I want to share. And it's just, like I said, we go back to art, we go back to the story of your father, and it's poetic nature, and it's film nature, and all these things. And this isn't a film, and this isn't anything like that, but I was at a mall and was sitting there. I had an Orange Julius or something like that, probably that. And there was a grandfather that had like a walker, and then a father that looked younger than him, and then it looked like his son, right? And so they all sat at the table right next to me. And then I see the son go to wherever, get food, come back, give it to the dad. And the dad gets up, goes over, gets food, gives it to his dad, right? And then they all took care of each other. Then they ate together. And I just remember sitting watching this, and I'm like, this is what I want. This is all that life is about. You have this team, and you have this love, and you have this understanding, and everybody gets it. I'll take care of you because you did everything ahead of time for me. I'll take care of you because you did everything ahead of time for me. I'll take care of you. I'm last in line right now. Cool. And I just remember, man, I might have been 23, 4. I was going to I remember going to the mall. The mall would be a place I would just go to walk around at that time and maybe get a shirt or something. But my point is, I just wanted to get out. I didn't want to answer a phone or be around people. And I just remember seeing that. And and the first thing is always selfish. I'm like, oh man, I'll never get to buy my dad food again. And my kid, he'll never meet my kid. And then you're like, you wash that away right away. You're like, dude, what are you doing? That's what it's about. Why are you putting yourself in this? It's not about me. It's never been about me. It's never been about any of us, but we're taught it is. It's embedded in us. It's about us, dude. It's not about anybody else. And that little moment, like these things happen for a reason. I don't even know those people, but that's life, man. You see something and it makes you better. That's art. You see something and it makes you understand, oh shit, I was wrong the whole time.
Yeah.
And we have that. We have access to it in droves. So
yeah. As for me growing up, I never had a moment, never a day that I didn't know if we were going to have food on the table, meaning I always had food. When I think about my mom, my aunts, the aunts that came from Vietnam that came with my mom, my aunts would talk about stories. Like there was one that I remember. She said, what was it? I was probably like 11 years old. I was eating, she cooked fish. I was eating fish and rice. And then there's bones that were little bones from the fish like hitting my mouth. So I was kind of complaining. And she was like, I remember back when I was younger, if you had fish and you had bones stabbing your mouth, you were happy because you had food. And when she told me when I was 11, I was like, I'm 11. I don't understand that.
Yeah.
So it's crazy.
My kids are.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I get another phone call there. But anyways, no, my kids are gonna be you. I'm good with that. I'm happy about that. They're not gonna get it at all. Ranch sandwich? What? Bro, we were hungry. We had bread and ranch. What do you want? There's flavor, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. But that's the great thing, though. You're at. Go ahead.
I would somehow, I don't know where I would, I don't know how to describe this. So for me to be able to say that I know that I've never had I think you said it earlier, you haven't had a hard enough situation in your life. You haven't had one day that was just where you didn't have food, or you thought you were going to die, or you thought some army was going to come down and kill you. That's kind of, I'm in the same boat with that. I don't, when I think, I kind of forget where I'm going with this point. When I think about my mom, my dad, my aunts, at least, oh, this is where I was going. At least I'm not what's the word I'm looking for? I'm not making fun of their situation. I appreciate them. I think that's different when you have a generational change. This might be a little bit of a long-winded story, but take my, I don't want to say their names too. I have a family member that's the next generation, and he made fun of another family member that did older generation, or that didn't know how to speak English as well. But I'm looking at him. I'm like, dude, you were born here in America. You are the second generation. You come from a wealth of the person that you're talking shit about that doesn't know English. He helped put all this into play for you. But that kid has no idea. And I try to explain to him, I try to elegantly say and not put him down. I just said, hey, I know this person worked 3 jobs to get me here, and I appreciate them. I don't make fun of their English. They made it through America without knowing English. And this other kid, or this I'm trying, I don't want to, it's
other person.
This other person, if they watch this, they will know who I'm talking about. This person who thinks that he knows English well because he could speak it fluently, but he's actually failing his English class.
Irony, huh? There you go.
Right? He is so privileged that he's able to fail English.
Let me ask you this. Do you think he's going to take the journey and learn that that was wrong? Or do you think he'll be stuck in that mentality forever?
That's tough to say. I want to say that's tough to say because I've changed so much when I went through my identity crisis. I'm a new person. I feel like I'm such a different person than who I was when I was 16.
Mm-hmm.
I hope he changes. I'm
a bet he will. Again, those insecurities of him making fun of someone to make himself feel good, we're taught that, but it doesn't make us feel better. It just makes us feel like we matter, you know? But it's not something that, you know, with experience with life, it goes away for most people. Look, I know that somebody's listening and they're like, hey, yeah, I know somebody that at the age of 17, they never changed their mentality till they're 50. I know those people exist. I do. And maybe that works for them. But I do think the environment that he has with you, with the family and stuff like that, that's not the environment that's going to let him be 16 forever. You know, he's gonna, or him or her, I don't know, person. Sorry, person. They're gonna learn that. I did something like that to my dad a long time ago, and I remember laughing at him and making him feel bad. And, I don't know. I'll share this story, but again, victims sometimes victimize people sometimes. It's just the way it worked when I was a kid, man. And again, nothing brutal. Yeah. But there was an HBO show called Oz, and my grandfather was killed by the Nazis, my father's father. When World War II happened, they were over in former Yugoslavia. And he told me this story a long time ago as a kid, that his dad and all the people in his village and Nikshis, they would take these rifles, and all the men ran with like rifles, like not Davy Crockett rifles, but just rifles, like to go fight the Nazis. And everybody was listening to that. My dad was 4 or 5 at the time, and he would just scream "Palubats, Palubats," which means give him a kiss. And I guess my dad's dad ran over to him, gave him a kiss, and got on wherever, went away over there. And my dad was crying, screaming. He's like, he ran like a football field, gave him another kiss, gave him a hug, yada, yada, ran back, didn't see them anymore. And he was crying over the hill. His dad ran over there, picked him up, and gave him a big kiss and blue butts, and ran away. And then he was killed in the war, World War II. And that whole village, my dad said, yeah, there was no more men. It was just mothers and sisters and children. That was it, And so we're watching Oz. He would tell me that story. So it was like, that was his last moment with his dad, 4 or 5. He's lucky enough to remember that, because I always tell my wife, hey, our kids are 2 and 5. These memories are for us. You're not gonna remember any of this. This is just for me. This is selfish memory time, right? And I get to, do you remember this? I'm gonna say it when he's 8. No. Whatever. Let it go. I remember, And so he remembers that. And he told me that story many times. And we're watching this show Oz, and there's the Nazi party and the prison gangs, whatever. I'm sorry, but this guy's like, I'm a Nazi and this and that. My dad loses his mind. He's like, that's not Nazis. That's not Nazis. Nazis are extinct. The world killed them. They're dead. They're extinct. And I'm like, Dad, Nazis are still around. No, they're not. Like, big argument, right? And I'm arguing with a guy whose father was killed in World War II. I'm 17 years old, 16 years old. I forgot the age. And I'm like, dude, like a Nazi, if a dude wears a swastika, he's a racist, he's a Nazi. No, he's not. No, he's not. Nazis are dead. We killed them. World War II didn't happen in Vegas, Peter. It happened over there. Stop it. Like, oh, all right, Dad, like whatever. So I'd be like, then I'd be like, making jokes the rest of the show. Like, look at that, not a Nazi. And it would just bother him. And because I just thought his reaction was ridiculous. Like, dude, of course there's Nazis, right? I still hear it today in the media. That guy's a Nazi. You're a Nazi. They're Nazis. Lo and behold, people from back then, that offends them pretty bad, because some loser from wherever in America that got a swastika tattoo and thinks that he doesn't like other races, that's not a Nazi. A Nazi came through and wiped out countries and villages and all this horrific stuff, and the world came together and depleted them and destroyed them and said goodbye, all you guys. You know what I'm saying? And again, I'm not talking about dark comedies, Jojo Rabbits. I get it. Make fun of that stuff. Mel Brooks is fantastic. I'm not talking about that stuff. That stuff didn't bother my father. What bothered him is that people were pretending to be something that ended his revenge of what happened to his dad. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
His revenge. No, you can't change the meaning of the word just because it's evil. You can't change the meaning of what it was. It's dead. Let it die. You know, let it die. And it never really got to me, ever. And then during Trump's presidency, everybody was dropping it everywhere. And I'm like, you become your dad. And I remember saying that to someone, be like, dude, can I, as a matter of fact, I said it to Mike Muir from Suicidal Tendencies when I interviewed him. I said, World War II didn't happen in Los Angeles, Mike. Like, we can't use the word Nazis. This is a true story. Go to metalsucks.net, listen to my interview with Mike. And I said that to him, and I'm like, holy crap. I made my dad feel like an asshole at 17, and one of my heroes, Mike Muir, one of the greatest guys ever. Guys, he's so cool. You know, one of my favorite people ever. I have a pink Suicidal Tendencies signed by Every Time I Die. Nobody else has that on the planet. This is what I got. So my point is, I love both these bands, and it's so cool to be able to even talk to these heroes of mine. So I'm not saying anything bad about Mike. You know, it's just that he dropped the word Nazi, and I'm like, no, we can't change the meaning. You know, and so in essence, well, I guess the moral of the story is that 16-year-old kid that's making fun of someone. I went as far. People are listening. I made fun of my dad's feelings about a party that killed his father, and I was none the wiser. I was just like, yeah, come on, bro, you know what a Nazi is. Dead Kennedys. Nazi punks, fuck off. They're making fun of Nazi punks. No, that's not what it means. And what it really means, he is right. He is right. Nazis are extinct. We did something good in the world together, and we took out this horrendous thing years ago, before all our time. And yes, I'm also right. The word to that the meaning of that word has changed to represent evil, but to an evil force, or maybe insult people. I don't know, one or the other. It is thrown around cavalier, you know, these days. But it's just to go back to it. He'll grow out of it, or him or her. They'll grow out of it. And they'll be like, man, I can't believe I did that. I can't believe I'm a better person now. Live and learn. And that's my point. Is that I have not a bad thing to say about my father in any way, shape, or form. But anybody you love, anybody that taught you, God, you got some shame, you got some guilt. You did something stupid to make yourself feel smart, you know, and that's all. So I just felt like, I don't know if I should have told that story. It makes me look bad or not. I don't know, but it's true.
No,
it's real, you know.
I think those stories, show a person's ability to reflect on their actions. I think that's a problem that I feel like, I don't know if it's social media, I don't know if it's America. I feel like we're missing that. A lot of people don't reflect on what they did. They don't think about, hey, what's my impact on the world around me? What did I say something that offended someone? Maybe I should say sorry, or maybe I should not say those things next time. I feel like that's a problem, and I see so much around. I don't know if it's just America. In my time in Vietnam visiting there, I think it's everywhere. I think it's human nature. I think, unfortunately, people just don't think about their actions.
So the internet, there's all this great stuff. But as I talked about with the dance marathon episode with Rise to Offend that we did, the radio happened. It crushed everything. And there's always been something technology-wise that has done this, and we panic. Every generation is done with it. The Woodstock episode is like one of my favorite episodes, going back and looking at the anti-war movement, the civil rights movement. You had these grown-ups, you had Martin Luther King Jr., a grown-up leading the charge. Someone the youth can listen to, someone that can put people together. Anti-war movement. You had RFK, Robert F. Kennedy, same thing, grown-up leading the charge, getting things together. They get assassinated. Kids take over. It's a mess. Everything's a mess. Nothing's getting done. It's just complaining, with some selfish people doing stupid things, some people doing some good things, and now it's all over the place. But we lost the grown-ups, right? Grown-ups never get that respect. And with the internet, with the social media, with all the stuff that is making us super divisive, the non-sober society having a voice, the addicted-filled people, the agenda-filled people, the marketing people, all these messages that we're getting that in essence is telling us constantly that we hate each other, that we have a problem with each other, that we can't get along. Man, we need some grown-ups. Step in, take charge and be like, no. Okay? Let me say this slowly. Let me say this is what it's about. And let me lead you guys away from this because it's not making us better. Or let me bottle it and tell you why it's great. And then everybody can get in there. You got to conform sometimes, right? You got to conform when it's best for society. We're talking about the pandemic right now and all these things. This is a life lesson for a lot of us, man. You know, a lot of us, like I have a weird thing with telling people what to do. I do. So I always lead my life by a simple rule. And I say it all the time on Rise to Offend is that my actions got to match my words. They got to. So if I want someone to do something, I'm going to do it myself. Clearly I did that. You know, I'm vaccinated. Everything's good. I wear a mask still. I do it because I care about everybody out there. I do. Now, if you don't, and you feel like it's my body, my choice, I also have always been someone that's be like, I respect that. Take the lesson. I'll wait. I'll wait as you hold me back here. It's not about me until you learn. We're not like that anymore. We're like, you're a villain. You're a bad guy. You're this and that. And we need a grown-up to stand up and say, no. We're a team. Our worst player on a baseball team is in right field. We all know that, okay? The right fielder, worst player on a little league team. We all know that, right? But we still need him to win this game, okay? So in essence, who's our grown-up though? The coach. We need a coach, and we need one that we all believe in and we all understand and we all do that. That's across the world, and I look at guys like Martin Luther King Jr. I look at guys like during that Woodstock episode, like Robert Kennedy, and I look at these guys and there was a selflessness to them. There was it's about a better future, and I haven't seen anybody like that since that time frame. We're going on 40, 50 years. I haven't seen anybody like that has been able to capture people without making others hate them so much, and I know that Martin Luther King had George Wallace and stuff like that as an adversary, and all that. And I'm not saying there wasn't adversaries with those times, but there was a universal truth and a peacefulness. And that's my thing that social media and all these things make me fear, is that I don't know if the grown-up will ever get the microphone again. I don't know if a grown-up will ever be able to make us all understand, hey, look, until we're not all armchair quarterbacks, okay? We can't yell at Tom Brady because he didn't see that guy and he threw it over there from a chair over here, because we've never been in Tom Brady's shoes during that play. We can't all live our lives like this, but we're doing it right now, okay? If you're not there, you don't know shit, If you're not there, you don't know shit. That's the time in your life you listen. And that's the scary thing about the world to me, is we don't want to listen, and we know everything, and I do everything to fight against it, but I catch myself in conversations with people where I might say something that, I don't really know about. Well, statistically, I read shit. All right, I wasn't there. I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say I read this statistically, because I don't have any idea what it's like to be a nurse working right now during COVID. I don't know. I don't work in that industry. I need to listen to the nurse and do what I can to help her. But instead, I'm saying something else. And that is, like you said, a social media thing. But social media bends the knee to who? The God of cool, who's always won. Who's always won, man. Who owns America, man? Cool. That's our God. And until we find a new religion, cool is going to rule. Oh, man, I didn't mean to rhyme. I didn't mean to rhyme, but cool is going to rule. And if I know the rules of the game, I'm willing to play, and I'm not going to try to be cool, but I definitely will try to move up the ladder and then disseminate what I can, you know, and let people know that that's not reality, you know. It's just not what it's about. But how do you do that without the grown-ups doing? Who is the loudest voice, you know?
I don't know if I'm going off topic, but jumping or with that. So social media and whatnot. Have you heard of Sagar and Crystal from Breaking Points? It's I think I think Sagar's center left, Crystal's center right, and they do like a news channel on YouTube. But so
I'm not familiar. Yeah. But go ahead. Yeah.
Sagar mentions he spent time in Washington D.C. He was gonna he had a position there where he could have stayed in the political system and he could have just stayed there, but he didn't like the way things are going there, and he wanted to talk about it on a podcast or on YouTube and try to fix things. And from what he's seeing, what he predicts with YouTube, even Twitch, what are the other platforms? TikTok, that slowly things might be going towards like a podcast format, video or audio podcast. And he thinks instead of having one when you're talking about one person with a mic, he's thinking it's going to be more every city is going to have like 10 Joe Rogans or something, or Joe Rogan or whatever podcast you like. But he thinks that's the way the future is going. Like CNN recently, I think their numbers came out and it's looking pretty bad. Like they're probably not gonna last. They need to do a pivot, or they're gonna slowly bleed out their money.
And that's something that I also learned during the Trump administration, is that we were news for profit. That guy sold so many clicks on hate, and people were making money hand over fist during our pandemic just to sell us that Trump said something ignorant again. And I'm not, you know, for people that I'm not against any political figure. I did not vote for Donald Trump either time, you know, but if you guys are a fan of him, it's totally fine. I respect your opinion. I want to live in a democracy. So if I'm outvoted, I'm good with it. Except I adapt. I'm not trying to say anything negative about that, but you know, the worst president of my lifetime is definitely going to be George W. Bush, because he started a war, and that's really something that trumped me. But you know, this might be a cutout part. I don't want to talk about the presidents. I'm sorry about that. But I mean, you can keep it in, but I just like I don't really have a strong opinion. Is my point. So I don't want to be indifferent on it. You know,
connecting the political part. I have a theory that America, somewhere between after World War II till about right around the Vietnam War, I think that seems to be where I don't know enough about history. I don't know enough about it all, geopolitical stuff, America. But my theory currently, until somebody tells me differently, it's right around that point, probably 1940 to 1970. I think that's where America changed. Where World War II, we could see that World War II was to defeat the Nazis, that the Nazis were killing Jews and killing genocide, all that. So that is a good thing, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's the only war in the last. I mean, I can't see anybody else really disagreeing, but they might. It's the only war that we should have participated in the last 100 years. We shouldn't have had another war at all.
So then connecting that, actually. That's interesting. I actually do wish America was more involved in the Vietnam War, but I think it's because of the things that led up, that whatever changed between the 1940s and 1970s, where I think corporate greed started buying the political system. I think then the war in Vietnam was more. It was a messed up thing where there's probably some type of political greed, power grab, money, something going on with the industrial complex.
Hearst magazine, that's when news started becoming for profit. It was right in that time frame. Oh. If you look at that story on Hearst magazine and what they did, how they found to sell and market media, that's when it started. And when you run into the 90s is when you had your Tanya Harding's, your, hey, let's celebrate serial killers type of stuff, which today is even still popular. People love true crime. They love it, but that's and then when Oliver Stone made his Natural Born Killers movie, like, this is where this is where we're heading. We're going to make celebrities out of killers. That's what we're going to do. We're going to be like, awesome. And they're murdering people. And eventually that's where we became media for profit, and going back to the guy's statement about the social media, I'm sorry, I forgot his name. Was it Sauger? Yeah. Hey, if I know anything about cool, it's a trend. This is a trend. A generation will reject this, because this and other different things down the road, I don't know when, it will reject it eventually, because eventually they're going to be like, this isn't healthy for me. This is something we don't want. We want to do our own thing. We don't want to do what mom and dad did. And that's a good thing. And that will be a rejection to a lot of that social media stuff about me, the self-ish society, instead of the selfless society, the one that I think we all want. And I do believe that there will be us willing to listen to these voices that you're saying. I agree with everything he's saying. It will take time. Everything's the long game, right? But the media for profit thing, I don't know if that will ever change. And I don't know if we will wholeheartedly reject that, because that's comfort for people, knowing what's going on in the world, hearing that opinion from someone, that's comfort. Podcasts are friends. I'm friends to people out there that listen to heavy metal that I never met in my life. I'm friends to these people that support Rise to Offend and listen to me, Brandon, Sylvia, and Jocelyn. Fantastic team. I couldn't do anything without those three, for sure. And I'm friends with these people. I don't know them, but they're willing to listen to us, whatever nonsense it may be. And news is friends. News is, I'm checking in with my friends, and I don't want people to lose their friends. I don't want them to lose their dynamic. But when their friendships are unhealthy in real life, we get rid of them. I have to move forward. You're unhealthy right now. You're using too much manipulation. You're doing too much. And that's really going to be tough for people to realize, because, the people delivering the news are educated people, smarter than me, smarter than probably us, and they know what they're doing, man. But even like, you go to sports talk shows, and it's virtually armchair quarterbacks all over the place. He should have done this. That's what it is. And that's what we want. That's what's selling. Let me hear some guy yell about some guy that missed a free throw. Man, come on, be nice. Like this is bully culture at its finest, and we are all about it. We want it. We want to hate someone else and knock them down a peg when they're great on anything. Why? Where did this come from? I told you, like, you're looking at these beautiful things we're destroying, just destroying them, and it's cool and it's awesome. It's like, why are you destroying youth? Why are you destroying beauty? Why are you destroying this stuff? What does that say about our culture right now? And how do we change that if it's making money? I never, ever, ever give the general public and viewers or listeners a pass. You don't get one. You're a participant in the problem. If this is what you support, you are a participant. If you want freedom of choice and freedom to choose and all these things, if that's your mantra, why are we adhering to streaming services who just give us things and say, here, you can watch this, here. You're not looking for anything. They're programming you things. You're not going out to the art house cinema and be like, let me see this movie right here. No, whatever's on quote unquote streaming service, that's all you want. That's all you get. Okay. Well, that's going to hinder you to whatever algorithm they have. And we don't have an algorithm. We're all an individual. We're all beautiful. We're all different. We're all whatever, and why are we accepting this? Why? I don't know, but it's easy. Convenience will bring complacency, and convenience will bring ignorance. I've never been in a more convenient time in the history of my life. And I have to fight against it daily, so I don't get complacent, so I don't get entitled. So I give an artist that, let's just say, made a record some money, and I buy it, even though it doesn't make any sense to do. It's because it's not the point. It's the point. It's a gesture. Hey, you put this together. This is how the art form you want. These are the lyrics you have. All right, buddy, I'll do it. I'll give you $10. I'll buy this thing, or whatever record company deal I know it's not going to the artist, but the point is that we have control of all those things. And I just feel like we don't care. Again, my fear, I feel like we're indifferent. We're indifferent to art. We're indifferent to almost everything except for this weird hate that we'd like to see and participate in with strangers that put themselves out there. I want to embrace people that put themselves out there. I want to say good job. I want to say all that stuff, you know, and I think a generation will again too. They'll realize the importance of it. They'll realize the importance of finding their own media, finding their own art, and not just accepting what scrolls because of an algorithm. They'll realize, no, I want to go, you know, and
I think it's
the original.
A little bit of someone said on one of my podcasts, a pendulum, where we might have gotten comfortable. We liked one thing with how news was, and pendulum swinging the other way. Maybe we're with certain things that are what some people are saying that we're going too far. Like maybe the movement on LGBT, some people are saying maybe it's going too far, or maybe it's cancel culture, or it's. But we don't know until we've gone too far, and the pendulum can swing back, and then we find an equilibrium. So I think maybe with old news, CNN, I think that's old stuff that has an agenda that's pushing too much from greed, and then
it's overcorrecting the problem. We do that in our own lives. It makes sense. Oh, we went how far? Let's do this and then this. Like, or we can just step back a little bit and realize that, hey, sorry, we did this. We forgive you. We're sorry. This was our agenda. Let's change. Well, we don't forgive you. We're moving on. Okay, that's fair. You should move on because I did not do the right thing in the position of power you gave me.
Yeah.
But that's not what happens. It's like, let me lie to keep my position of power in any way, shape, or form. And let me say this. If I was in a position of power, maybe I would lie too. Maybe I would be just as bad. And that's what I hate. I'm like, I don't even know. From my position, I can see these things, and I have a lot of hope for the future, and a lot of love for the society. You know, I do truly, I say this and I mean it. There has never been a better time to be alive ever in the history of man, except for today. This is the greatest time to be alive currently. The future will probably be better than where we're at, but this is the greatest time for everything, convenience, for love, culture, all those things. We have everything. We control it. We're the consumer. We call the shots, right? And you can not be cool and find anything and consume it and truly be free. And there's a place for everyone in these 50 states. Again, if you find the right community. And I do feel 30 years ago, racism was real to a point where, you know, people could die and not care. It's not happening anymore. You know, there shouldn't be. It might be happening, but I'm saying, like, it's not accepted anymore like it was. We've gotten better every generation. We'll never get credit for it, but we've gotten better every year. Every generation's made things a little bit better for us.
Yeah, I would add, like, maybe some of the things I've said, or a lot of the complaining I do, first world problems or whatnot, or when I think about maybe being Asian in a predominantly, being Asian in America, being a first generation Asian, having to deal with maybe some of the things that come with that. But maybe I want to add, I have said some things that may sound like I was saying America's not good at treating Asians at certain times or certain situations. But the good things I want to say the good things is I have, like you're saying, I have the comforts of our life, the conveniences of our life, the amount of toys that I've got. When I say toys, like whether it be a laptop or I got 2 cameras and a microphone. I have this other microphone sitting here that's just like a toy. It actually works, but it's just a prop because it looks like the one on my logo. So we have so much in America. We have such an abundance of everything. We have so much. we are so privileged, and that's what I mean. If I complain about all the other things earlier, I at the same time I do realize the place that I'm in and how fortunate I am.
Oh, I was gonna say, but ask yourself this: do you think someone in a village with their family, no TV, no phone, nothing, food, playing out there, wherever, any place in the world that they can call third world or anything like that, do you think there's a chance that they're happier?
Oh yeah,
Without all those
let
things?
me add.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have family in Vietnam. I have
Mhm.
I have I don't think he would ever listen to this because he doesn't understand English enough. But I feel that if I had to, how would it sounds weird for me. I'm gonna just say it and then I'll explain it. I feel like his life is better than mine. I know that sounds weird. That sounds terrible. But when I go over there in Vietnam and visit him, for a while he owned a car in Vietnam, which in Vietnam everyone drives mopeds. If you own a car, you got money. When I went over there in Vietnam 3 years ago, there was a trip I was trying to plan, a couple cousins, and I said, hey, I'll pay for everyone's costs, everything. And then I was like, but we're going to take the bus because their bus system over there is pretty cool. They have this, it's pretty cheap. I forget the cost. I want to say it was like, I think it was like $5 for a person. And this bus, you lay down and they drive you for like 10 hours. It's fantastic. You lay down and you fall asleep, you hang out with your friends, and when you wake up or whatever, you're in your vacation spot. So it's fantastic. But then that cousin, the rich cousin, he's like, I'm going to go buy a plane ticket. I don't want to wait 10 hours. I'm like, what? I didn't really say this. Then I'm just saying it for the sake of the story. I'm from America, man. Like, I'm taking the bus and you're going to up me by you're going to buy a plane ticket? Like, what the fuck? How much money do you have? Like, so anyways, when kind of like you're saying, is there other people? Okay. So his is a little bit extreme. That's because he has money and whatnot. When I see my wife's family in a small village town, like their population over there, I'm going to guess, I don't know the population of that town. I'm going to guess 1,000 people. It's small. But the way they hang out and have lunch, oh my goodness, like it melts my heart. The certain ceremonies, I mean, it's like 50 people out of, I don't know, that's probably, it feels like the entire town out of 1,000 people, but 50 people at one ceremony, all the food, all the music. I mean, this music is nuts. They karaoke. It's so loud. Like you could be in your room trying to sleep. And actually, unfortunately, that day that happened, I got like 2 hours of sleep that night because we were traveling. So I was trying to sleep, even though there was 50 people there, and they were just. But I just, I think I got like 30 minutes of sleep. I got out, went out, and met everyone. 50 people, food, decorations, everyone's happy, drinking. It's just this feeling. I don't know how to explain it. I know it, I guess as I'm thinking how you are hearing this, it sounds like just karaoke and music and food, but there's something.
No. It doesn't sound like that at all.
There's something there when there's 50 people and it's all family plus extended family, and it's amazing to me. I don't know how to really explain this, but all of a sudden, like you'll see somebody and like you're like, hey, wait, I remember meeting you down at the corner shop. Oh, my aunt someone that knows my aunt that knows my uncle, I'm screwing that up. But there's like a third degree thing, and they're there too. And it's like this extended family becomes family, and it's just this beautiful, the way they treat you too. Now this is where I'll throw in. I don't know how much of it is because they think I'm American. Maybe they think I have money, that maybe they're treating me better. I don't know. I don't know if it's 10%, is it 90%, is it 50% of it, but I soak it in and I try to let that thought, don't think about it and just enjoy the moment. And it's just fucking beautiful. The how they treat you. Everyone's just drinking. There's this thing where when the beer glass, if everyone's around the table and they're drinking, one person will say yo, and that's, I think that means, or the translation is in, to be in something. So one person will say yo, and then I think they'll count 1, 2, 3, mo hai ba, and then yo. Everyone puts their glass up on that last yo, and everyone says, and they yell yo, and it's just, to compare it to an American type of situation when you cheers at the end of a meal often or the beginning, but they'll yo multiple times, and it doesn't matter. Like somebody could be drunk and be like, yo, everybody, this is a good song. Let's just yo to that. And then somebody might mention a story about, oh, this is a good piece of beef jerky. Let's yo to that. Like there's just camaraderie that just, it melts my heart. So, yes, when you ask that question, is there times where those people in that 1,000 person population town, and it's not very rich. They're not compared to like a city here in America, the conveniences and all the things that we have, the toys that we have, like they have much less over there, but those moments I'm like, holy shit, you have so much more.
And that's it, man. That's what life is. Like to us in America, like a metal concert for me and my metal brethren, that's what it's like. Let's all go. Let's see a band, 50, 100 of us. Let's go to a football game, you know, what I say, Cleveland Browns. Yes, go ahead, dude. We're good to go. We have that all the time, and we forget. We leave and we forget. No politics, none of that crap. We're there to celebrate, have fun, and camaraderie. I don't know any of these people that are at this show, you know, but I know that when they leave, the noise is going to get to them. The noise might not get to that village. The noise that gets us to be angry with each other. We don't escape it. It's in our pockets, man. And I don't ever want not to have a phone, you know. I'm adapted to that. I've assimilated to the phone. I want it, you know. And if you got it at 5, you got it at 50. It's a Norma Jean song. The noise ain't noise anymore. That's a lyric that stuck with me for a long time. It's not. It's our culture. It's our life. The noise is always there. It goes away for a second, but then it comes back. Because we want it. We welcome it. Consumer, that's us, right? Those villages, they don't welcome it most of the time. They don't want it. You know, they're not left out on anything, not being connected to the world. They're not, because they're connected to humans. That is the world connection that I always thought. That's the only connection that matters. I go to a band, I don't care who it is. Hey, there's 50 of us, we're watching Goat Horror, we're screaming the songs. New Orleans, I got a stream to watch Down tonight. I'm going to be sitting at my computer. No fans around me, but man, I know that all the kids are going to be out. It's Friday the 13th out there when we're recording this for everybody that doesn't know. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but whatever. It's Friday the 13th. It's great. I'm getting interviewed on Friday the 13th. It's a great thing to do. So my point is that I know, I feel it. I'm watching it. I know I'm not alone, and we're there. We have it. We have it all over the place. We do, but it's not our focus anymore. Our focus in our rooms sometimes with people is our phones. You know, sometimes I see people, you know, movie theaters, one of my favorite things to do, go see a movie, whatever it may be. Haven't seen one because of COVID. We did go see one movie, and text messaging the whole time from people. Videotape, you know how people videotape concerts now. Like, check it out. I'll look at this later. Yeah. Selfish, not selfless. We're there, man. We don't need the memory. We just need the vibe, the environment, the energy. Walk out, let it soak you in, like you're talking about. And I don't know why we forget about that stuff, man. We've all been there. We leave something together and it goes right, and there's just a joy you can't explain. I like sporting events is the biggest one I always see. But when a sporting event goes right for you, and you're walking out, strangers, you got like Cleveland Browns is my team, so you got the Cleveland Browns jersey. Yeah, Cleveland Browns, we did it. We were the worst. Now we're okay. You know, it's like okay is good to feel. You know, and it's like this camaraderie, high five, hug. I don't care, love. You know, and then we go home, and it's and we leave the energy of you know, like I said, some sort of belief system that makes no sense really, but it matters. It matters. And everybody in the world, every community, whether it be what we were just talking about that you experienced, everybody needs to experience that again, man, on some level. and keep it with them and realize that's what we are. You know, that's what we are, no matter what. And that's what everybody wants to be. You know, I really feel that way. I just don't know why we can't get there sometimes. But the noise ain't noise anymore. You got to fight it. You got to fight it. You know, who's to blame? I don't know. Us. We're always to blame.
Well,
we're the consumer.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, exactly. And especially with social, I mean, with social media, Facebook, Instagram, I think that's only it's magnifying us, and it's not that it's causing us to be that way. I think it's only magnifying, if that makes sense. Meaning, our issue with wanting to be on the phone all the time because it's some type of selfish desire to get likes on a comment or to post a picture about us, or post a picture of myself on there. That's only magnifying I feel like I think I have a healthy amount of it, but I think other people that I feel don't have a healthy amount, where they're spending way too much time on the phone because Facebook, Instagram, all those things are allowing them to magnify that personality trait, which is the selfish gene or something.
Well, it's what we're taught, and it feels good. We want to be stimulated, right? Reality life is not stimulating all the time. We sit there and read a book and create everything on that page. Me and you can read the same book. We have a completely different image of the pictures, everybody in that person. We relate ourselves. Words used to do that to us. Now you don't need words. You just need photos and little words and, oh, I can't believe this. And you feel like you're part of the community on social media. You're like, I'm part of the community. I know what's going on. Did you see what happened here? Let me tell somebody about what happened in this community. But we have to acknowledge that community is entertainment. It's fake. It's not real.
Yeah.
And I know people are like, duh, but if you invest that much time into it, it is real. You know, I can say that, you know, my love for film, my love for music, art, all that stuff, I consider it more real and more meaningful in its fiction than a lot of reality. You know, because I feel like what they're saying is real, or what they're showing is real, and I relate to it, and I needed it, but it's pure fiction. You know, my belief system is pure fiction. I say it all the time, and it sounds like, oh, that sounds awful. You need to live in truth. I am an honest, truthful person, but I don't want to live. I don't think anybody lives in truth. I think we all live in some sort of fiction with our identity tied to it, which we can't escape, which we need to embrace, and other people's reaction to it. You know, it's very hard to live in a world if every reaction you get is negative or ignored, or, like I said, indifferent. So we're putting ourselves out there for indifference now on social media. And until we aren't indifferent, we'll never stop putting ourselves out there. It's a trap. It's a game for some people. And unfortunately, like, there's people that will do everything they can to get that like, to get that attention, because they just don't want to feel like indifference. You know, why does that person matter, not me? We're not in competition with one another. But man, maybe we are. I don't know anymore. Maybe my whole life, I guess I was taught I am in competition with everyone, right? But I never felt like I was in a race. I never felt it at all. Hey, I'm in line right here. I got to get this promotion. Well, I'm not going to stab the guy in the back, move him to the side and go over. I'm going to wait my turn. Henry Rollins said that. Perfect, right? So I do that. I wait my turn, and then timing happens. It's a long game. I get that promotion. I didn't like the way he was doing things. Now I'm the guy. Oh, wow. Now I know why he was doing things that way, because now I'm in his shoes. So all my complaints are nonsense, and the same complaints I had, the guy before me is going to have complaints about me, because your control is only this much. And that's what it's about, right? With social media, none of that happens. You're virtually standing in line forever, and it's dictating your emotions and your mood and your feelings and yourself and your identity and all those things you need to find before you do that. And that is the basis of Rise to Offend, is that what is your digital imprint? It means more than anything else to the world. Your digital imprint. Who are you? If I go down Wikipedia and biographies written by strangers that never knew you and unauthorized things, who are you to the world? And here's your interviews that you said things sometimes, and let me cut that in there as well. It's not being mean. It's being like, look, this is what I did with my research on a stranger, and this is what I found. I'm not spinning the story. I'm showing a human being, but all I can show is their digital imprint. That's the future. That's a documentary. But there's nothing real, right? It's only what we say about it. It's only what other people. Oh, I mean, there's facts that move along in the story. I'm not saying that, but there's nothing real in the digital imprint, But it's more than human, right?
Yeah.
Because it's this. So yeah. I mean, just to go around is like, I find so much positivity in the internet and in social media if it's used correctly, like most things, everything. If it's used correctly, man, to see dogs and families and baby pictures. Oh man, I haven't talked to that guy. Oh, he's got a baby. Yeah, come on, man. I want to see that every day. My heart swells every single day. This is gonna be a beautiful moment for that dude. I'm not the kind of guy to be like, hey, you got a kid? You're gonna be up all night. No, that's a lie. You want to be up all night because you got a beautiful little baby, and those memories are for you, not for them. And so, yeah, man. So I am not a negative person when it comes to that, and all the people out there that use it positively. I think it adds to their life. I really do.
Yeah.
I think it adds to their life in a way that people didn't get in addition.
Yeah.
But like anything that you do too much of it or something like that, it also hurts, man. And I guess that's the irony of everything. That's everything in the world.
I think surprisingly, like in Vietnam right now, social media, as we see it as a problem here in America, I see it also replicating in Vietnam too. So it's not just a phenomenon that's only in America. It's global. I mean, I guess it's easier to think that it's global when you see like TikTok and that's just every country, or I mean Facebook too. But I guess for me to go to Vietnam and see so many kids spending so much time on their phones and so interested in their Facebook, it's the same story.
We're gonna have a big gap. Like what used to take 10 years now takes like 3.
Yeah.
There's like generations. Like we used to be like, here's millennials, here's generation Y, Z. It's gonna be like, all right, here's generation ZZ, generation Z.
It's gonna probably be by
and it's like every 2 years. Yeah,
probably by app. Oh, that's the Facebook generation. That's the Twitch generation. That's the TikTok generation.
And we all head towards what's comfortable for us. And that's the thing that I'm worried about. Is that dude, it's so comfortable to play video games and talk to a stranger or a friend from afar and not go out with them and get in trouble like I did as a kid. It's so much comfortable to stay away from people and live from a distance. But I mean, that's not, from my perspective, that's not what we're supposed to do or be. And we doesn't make us care for one another. It just makes us something to hang out with or do. I mean, I think about dating apps, and I've luckily never had to do that, but like something like Tinder, I brought this up before on my other show, is that like you're looking at a human being, you're swiping at the human being, man. Like,
yeah,
come on. I mean, okay, whatever. It's just the format should have been a no-go, because it's like, that's still a human. That might be like the greatest, best friend, awesome person in the world. And that's how you see people now, is this way. Just get rid of them, or okay, keep them.
Yeah.
Like I said, again, people can use that app properly. Talking about the mental game of looking not at people as human beings and this complicated, one of a kind, miracle, glorious thing, which everybody really, really is, and looking at it as something that's indifferent and disposable, and that's where a lot of that stuff goes. And it's convenience, though, it goes back to that. But truthfully, with times, with our jobs, with how everything's going, we are working much harder, much faster, much stronger. We have less time, I feel, because of, digital technology.
Yeah.
I can answer things this quickly where it used to be taking a long time. So every second I'm on that clock, I'm making more money for my bosses, making more money. I'm doing everything, it's nonstop all day, and stuff like that. So financially, this is a fantastic thing for a lot of us to make more money, live in better situations, be in better environments, and have our, children maybe have a good, an easier upbringing by that. but it also gives. Go ahead.
A little bit kind of random, kind of connected. So all these things that we're talking about, having the comforts of all this technology, the things that make our life better, if we use it for the better. But then something, I guess, having all this, this may sound like I'm jumping topics, but recently I said to my dad, like, think back to when you left Vietnam in 1975. Do you think you would have had a son back then? Was there any way to even fathom that you would have a son that has the salary that he has, that knows English as well as he does, that works as a software engineer, who, for him, for my dad, it's like he thinks highly of that, and which
should, yeah.
I guess I'm saying that as I think a morality.
Having a proud dad, brag about it. It's good.
Yeah. I was thinking about more morality. Someone should
want to be a proud dad.
So I told him, when you think about yourself in 1975, could you have ever fathomed this would have happened? And I think I caused him to pause on that. He didn't know how to answer. So I think that was a beautiful thing. To think about all the connecting back to kind of with all the conveniences that we have, it's, I don't know. It's just crazy, I guess, that it's gone so far, not because it's not all in my doing or your doing. We got technology, we got cell phones. This is all from the millions of people around the world making these things. Mm-hmm. So, it's a culmination of all of it. It's just crazy to think about. I don't know.
I would have, if I was your dad, what I would have said to that, if that was in his shoes, I would have been like, well, hard work always pays off. I knew that. I knew that. And guess what? It paid off again. That's a universal truth. Everything I've ever worked hard on always paid off, and everything I tried at and didn't give up and like, hey, I got not expectations of like, I'm going to be crazy, but expectations, and that's it. I mean, hard work always pays off. It always has, for everybody that's put themselves out there without expectations and believed in something, believed in themselves, and had, I don't want to say a chip on their shoulder, but had something to prove to themselves. It always pays off. And
yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, but that's crazy.
So we're about a half hour until 3 hours. So we're 2.5 hours in. That's usually where I start the final question. So there's like
that's cool.
5 or 6 questions. We didn't even go. I think we didn't really go into. We didn't go into a lot of the questions that I wrote.
Dude, don't worry about it. I do an interview. I do interviews for weekly, and I write down the questions. And if I don't ask any of those, good interview. That's what I always say to myself. I'm like, they're there just in case.
Yeah.
We're going nowhere, So I'm good, man. The fact we went 2.5 hours, I'm like, again, it's been a blast, dude.
Awesome.
So I'm good with it. Yeah.
So since we got still a half hour and then 5 or 6 questions, so feel free to go on tangents or make the whatever, how deep you want to go into the answers. First question: what great daily habits do you have?
Oh man, let me tell you. During the pandemic, I was either gonna go with bad habits or good habits. We all know good habits and bad habits, they take the same amount of time. They really do. Okay. So it's like, I'd rather do this bad habit. Well, it's going to take this much of time, or do this good habit, same amount of time. So for me, the big thing was like, do something that like just shuts things off. So I learned to meditate before coffee. Okay. I don't know how people, if they can meditate on caffeine, you guys are winners. Me, I cannot. So wake up, meditate, sit there, whatever, stare at a white wall. I don't know, whatever the case may be. And then I get up and I'd write the list for my day. Right. And that was a new habit that during the pandemic it happened. Also, can't go to the gym. I'm in a pandemic. Right. So I have to exercise. And what I did was I went and got, people sometimes build home gyms and stuff like that. I'm like, no, I'm too basic. I went and got a jump rope. Right. Which I haven't done forever. And I mean, I jump roped every day. I love jump roping. So now, but man, the first few times I'm like, this is impossible. Now, dude, I'm like Rocky. It's crazy. I lost all my glamour muscles. I'm all skinny again, and I'm okay with this because I'm 40. But my point is that like I used to go to the gym and be like, all right, oh look at that arm, it's good, look at that tricep. Now it's all just skinny. I'm all right with it, man. I feel better. I feel like my arms are like lighter. It's great. So I've been jump roping during the pandemic. So that was a good habit. And then other good habits I may have done. Reading has been a challenge for a while for me, but I found ways to do that as well. And so those are the good habits. Bad habits? Do you want those too?
Typically, the question is, what great daily habits do you?
Oh, daily habits. Okay, so those are my great daily habits.
Okay.
Meditation, jump rope, reading at least an hour. I don't do it before bed because that's when my mind doesn't work. So it's over. I try to do it, usually like at lunchtime at work. It's like, let me get a book. Let me put this phone away, and I don't read on my phone. Sorry, I need the page. It's just the way it is.
Let's do the bad habits. That's
bad habits. Oh man,
that's kind of interesting.
So I think a lot of us have bad spending habits during the pandemic, right? I have a stack of DVDs, horror film DVDs from like Arrow Video, Vinegar Syndrome, Severin, all these obscure Shout Factory, obscure 80s horror movies, like $30 a pop, special editions, dude, New York Ripper, Pieces. I mean, just anything that you can think of. And I'm just like, I'm buying all the Arrow videos. I'm just going to collect everything that Arrow Video has put out. And I mean, dude, I spent so much money. And the stack is like this tall. I have kids 2 and 5 years old. I can't watch horror movies really at all. Stack is about as tall as me. And I get through like one every couple months. And I still go to those websites and buy these DVDs. Still to this day, I've got one coming right now. And I'm just like, dude, I mean, I got Alice, Sweet Alice. That's what's coming right now. I don't know why I bought it, So the bad habit is with my phone, when I'm bored, I want something. And I just I got the money, we'll just buy it. But
I'm going to ask a question that may sound bad, but I think your answer is going to be good. Do you think buying all that is kind of a consumerism thing? Go
ahead.
Like, is it a bad habit of consumerism that's from the American culture?
Dude, yes, it is. I want to have the baddest B-movie collection in the history of Americans and everywhere in the world, and nobody will give a shit about it. Like, nobody will look at my movie collection ever, really, and be like, wow, that guy collects movies. They can be like, why don't you stream? That's what they'll say to me. It's like a personal thing of me looking at this and being like, all right, so I have money, I should spend it, right? I don't have any bad habits. I don't want to go do anything super dumb, Yes, I will gamble if casinos are open. I like gambling, which is a bad habit, but I don't do it enough to make it really a really bad habit. But anything else, I don't do, legalize weed. I don't care. Drinking, I don't care. I don't do this stuff. It's just, I like my mind being my mind. I don't like any kind of whatever. And I don't like bringing that personality to people I love. Hangovers, stuff like that. Some people can handle it. No, I'm a bad person, like flat out bad person. So I don't want it. But I'm not sober either. It's just, I'll have a drink. I'll have a beer with somebody, but I'm not going to bring those habits here. So horrible DVDs and movies and buying things that I might not get through this collection the rest of my life. I don't know. Just having it on the shelf. Yeah, it's straight consumerism. It makes me feel cool. It makes me feel like I'm, ahead of the B-movie nerd fan basis world. It's like, it makes me feel good about myself. And when I show my wife and she doesn't care and she's indifferent, she's like, you're watching that without me? She doesn't say that. She watches them with me, actually. But she doesn't have the same excitement. And when they're bad, she lets me know. Trapped Alive was bad. Trapped Alive was horrible. And she let me know. And I paid $30 for that. Anyways, go ahead.
I thought your answer was so you answered part of what I thought.
Okay.
Part of it. Or no, I mean, you answered it correctly. I just thought your answer was going to be that you have it under control, that you're buying within your means, which I think you did say that. But and then I thought you were going to elaborate into it's more of the art. You're buying the art. I thought you were going to go into that actually. But
oh man, B movie. I don't know if this is art. This is like failed attempts. And it's like, now I love art, but I love trash too. Like I gotta tell you, like, so like everything you said is true. I am buying within my means. It's not affecting my life in any way, shape, or form. It's not an addiction. I have the money to throw away or whatever on such things, but I definitely think that if I didn't have the money, I'd still do this. Right? I would probably be like, we're gonna eat frozen pizza tonight. I have Trapped Alive by Arrow Video. So it's an addiction, and it's definitely a product of my environment. This is what I want to throw my money on, and it makes me feel good. I can't even explain it. I'll take this vice with me till the end of time, but I will never, ever watch all the movies I own in my lifetime. It's a guarantee. I'm just letting people know. It's a guarantee. I got 10,000 up there now. It's ridiculous.
Awesome. All right.
Yeah.
Next question. What do you know or think of cryptocurrency?
I know nothing of cryptocurrency. And I am the guy that, like I said, if you want to talk to me about money and you say it's $15 an hour, that's all I need. I'm good. I'll move. You know, I need more but at this point, but like, that's the deal. And I move forward. I don't do nothing but put things in a savings account, leave them be. And like I said, my mortgage, I want to pay it off as fast as possible, so I don't have a mortgage. You know, so that's if cryptocurrency can help me pay my mortgage off faster, I'm gonna have it paid off. Probably before I'm 50 for sure. Probably when I'm 41. My birthday is the 28th of August, so I'm 40 right now. So I'm gonna be 41, and I'll definitely have my house and cars paid off before I'm 50. And if cryptocurrency can help me do that, I'm all about it. But honestly, I'd rather not even risk shit. I just want to own everything and buy more bad movies.
Yeah. I'm huge into cryptocurrency, so I'll just give you my little spiel. There's two perspective. There's the monetary financial side of cryptocurrency, and then there's the decentralized. What do I want to call it? The decentralized global system that can help everyone side of it. There's two different. There's one that's a bit more sci-fi or theoretic. Big in theory, and then there's the other side that's just money. So I'll just do the money side because that's kind of easy, and I think it sounds like you don't really care about cryptocurrency for what I'm about to say. So cryptocurrency money side, as you've probably heard of Bitcoin or any other cryptocurrency like Ethereum, whatnot. It's just a digital currency that's decentralized. So it's just this beautiful technology that Bitcoin was the first one. Somebody that we don't know who it is, some person that goes by the name of Satoshi Nakamoto, they created it. And it's amazing code that allows anonymous actors to take a part in the network and have code be the consensus factor. So it's nearly impossible to hack. And when I say impossible, to hack like one wallet, it would probably take one computer. If you take a number one with 70 zeros behind it, that's how many years it would take to hack one wallet. So the math or the math or the encryption level is pretty high. So I want to say,
high.
Yeah, it's nearly impossible. It's not impossible, but it's we should just use the word it's impossible to hack, even though
people ain't living that long.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna go with impossible.
Yeah. So let's take it to the other side that I love talking about is the decentralized consensus mechanism that creates a possibility for consensus of truth. So from a philosophical point, there's a thing called truth by consensus. So we could talk about, many Americans believe the Vietnam War was good. Let's just say what
theory. Yep.
But if the majority of the people believe that is the truth for them. Mm-hmm. Blockchain allows this to happen, allows that ability. If I'm trying to think of an example, say, I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think of an easy one to explain. I don't know of one. Let's just. So I'll. You could put voting for your president on the blockchain. The beauty of that is all these mining servers that are all these nodes and or mining servers. These nodes run with code that all these nodes, whoever's running the nodes, downloads that code and runs it on their node, and they can't hack it, or it's nearly impossible. They'd have to have 51% of the servers in the world to be able to override some of these transactions. So if you put a decentralized voting system, the government wouldn't be able to hack any votes. That would be one possibility. Let's take it with the U.S. dollar. How they're printing? They just printed last year. They printed. Gosh, I forget the number. Was it like $6 trillion they printed?
Inflation is real. Yes.
Yeah. And something
real.
like 40. It was like 40% of all the money in the U.S. system that they printed just last year. So with blockchain or a decentralized cryptocurrency, there are some bad cryptocurrencies out there. I'm going to speak for the good ones where it's open source code. All the nodes in the world are working with a decentralized open source code that nobody can easily hack. There's bad cryptocurrencies where it's centralized. So I'm not going to, I guess my mind goes there, and I want to, if anybody's listening to this, they might be able to throw it. They might be able to say, no, Liem wasn't right on this, but I know there's bad cryptocurrencies out there, but the good ones. So if the U.S. were to have a cryptocurrency, they can't just print out money like that. So it's a finite amount of money. It's a finite amount of coin in the system. So I take this and I think about the sci-fi future that blockchain can bring and cryptocurrency. Mm-hmm. That means, the way I look at it, everyone in the world could have some of this cryptocurrency, and then no government can come in there and print more money for themselves. So that's where I think the beautiful possibilities. That's just for the monetary side. When I think about voting for the president, or imagine if you had a government that was built around a blockchain that had laws and rules written in there, and say if 51% truly did not, say if you had laws written on the blockchain, say first one is freedom of speech, number 2 is right to bear arms, and say somehow the government wants to vote on altering freedom of speech. But if you have 51% of the people actually vote, no, we don't want to change that, they can't hack the vote. So the government can't change that law. So it would be amazing. I think it would be amazing if we actually got government on a blockchain. It's still people at, it's like, it's an amazing hammer. And if you got some nails that you got to hammer down, and you got an amazing hammer in your garage, but you don't go use it, that's your fault. You're an idiot. That's what cryptocurrency is, an amazing tool, but us humans still have to learn to use it, or actually want to use it.
There is definitely something like the currency that we're using. There should be something to update it, like you're saying, because of the way things are now with our time and stuff like that. So I'm not opposed to it. I just, like you said, I'm not one that took the time to understand it fully or really got involved in it. But I'm open to all changes that are for the positive, that can make people more accountable, especially financially. Mm-hmm. Because I think there is a, when they say you follow the money, you can, whatever, anything that can show you where the money's going, I am a fan of. But again, that's going to be, somebody's got to climb up that ladder, disseminate it down. Somebody's got to change. That's a big change, man. But that is cool, though. I've never really delved into that though at all.
I think it's amazing that even people that say that they love cryptocurrency, when I mention voting on the blockchain or creating government on the blockchain, I'm a software engineer, and maybe because I think there's a lot of factors. My personality, I try to be very, very moral. I think that to me, that's life. or I think that makes a good life, in my opinion, whether it does or not, but that could be for another story. But so I think having that personality trait with being in as a software engineer, looking at cryptocurrency code and seeing how that could play out for the better of all humans, that's why I think blockchain is so freaking amazing.
And I think anything that's better for all humans, and I agree with you. And yes, the moral life that you're living, and I feel the same way as you do. I think that I completely agree with you on that. I want to live a moral and good life. But for those that don't, hey, teach their own, like we always say, hopefully don't hurt others in the process. That's the big deal. So,
all right, next question. What's the biggest problem for humans? What should we do to fix it?
Oh man, I look at things simply. The biggest problems for humans is right now, at least in my region in America where I'm at. I can't speak for other places. I really don't know what they're dealing with, because there's some inhumane things happening in other countries. So I'm going to speak from an entitled point of an American. The biggest problem for humans is, in my eyes at least, is the stability of our children having a stable and happy environment all the way through. I think that every child, if they're born and those people stop their lives and focus on that kid and make that kid smart, beautiful, loved, confident, all that stuff, I think that's what changes generations. I think that we don't acknowledge the amount of broken homes and tough situations that kids are in across this country, that they have problems finding their identity, that they have to pick sides between parents, that they have to do all these things that it's just heartbreaking for anybody in that age. And it's the percentage, when you look these stats up, isn't 10%. It's over 50, and I do feel like that's changed an entire culture out here. I'm not a conservative. I'm much more of a liberal person. But I do feel like if you have a child, everything stops and you make everything work to help that child feel confident, loved, special, all those things. And I feel like a lot of kids fend for themselves in the richest country in the world mentally, and I think that's the biggest problem. I do feel ignorance spawns from that. I think the wrong crowd spawns from that. You kind of gravitate towards the wrong people. And I do think that that gives us a lack of kindness, it gives us a lack of me, because you kind of feel like you're alone at a young age. And I don't think anybody mentally, even me at any age, can come back or not have a false start when you don't have a stable place, and during your youth when you're rising. I think a lot more people need to be less selfish and more focused on the future when they bring in a miracle like children really are. So I think that's a huge problem out here, and I think other countries have it, not nearly on the same scale.
Do you have is one of your kids a boy?
It's both boys.
Both boys. Do you think, this is just kind of while you're talking about raising kids with love, I guess, do you think in America, actually, is it globally or just America? I think more in America, raising a boy to be tough may be more advantageous for them when they're older to like work in a. What are your thoughts on that?
Look, this is a capitalistic society, it's the least worst. I truly believe that. The rules of the game is you have to have tough skin, and you have to be willing to try, and you have to fail a whole lot, and be able to stand back up. That is part of this toughness and this kind of anger or whatever that comes with almost like this masculine identity. I think that men, women, transgenders, everybody, LGBTQ plus, has to have that in them to compete and find happiness in this country. Everybody wants a piece of this pie. So, you know, yeah, I think it's very important that they know failure and they know how to stand back up. I think it's very important that they want to win in whatever they strive for. I think the most important thing, and I'm inbreeding this in my kids already, is never quit. If you start something, you finish it. End of story. You know, I don't care if it's Legos. If you want to put a car together, you're going to finish that car. You're not walking away. And I think that is the hardest and most important lesson. I think a lot of people learn to quit and that it's okay and that's fine. And eventually I think that becomes their personality, and it stunts them in you know, conforming to the society we live in, which, you know, unfortunately, like I said, there's parts where you have to conform to. And if you're going to live in a capitalistic world, you have to conform to, you know, the long game of working hard and not walking away from everything. So yeah, I guess I'm not gonna teach them to be bullies. I can go put my head down on a pillow and say I've never bullied people and I've always tried to rise them up my entire life, except for maybe when I was in high school or something like that. I didn't bully people, but I was just a mean kid. I'm not gonna say that I wasn't really not someone that wasn't to the environment of TV and music and tough attitudes. I had all that stuff in me, you know, but I broke out of it, and it's been that way ever since. I don't look down upon anybody, no matter what their issues are, and all I do is try to help them out, and I want my kids to have that kindness. And it's easy to show them that every day, just with a smile. You know, I smile a lot, my face hurts, you know, and you know, it's easy to just sit down and watch them color with them and all these little things. And like I said, that gives them confidence. My kid is going into kindergarten. He knows math, you know, and I'm pulling out cards. It's like my wife pulled out a card. It's plus 12 equals 8. He's like 4. Like, oh, just that confidence. Like he's going into kindergarten.
Wow.
Knowing he can do something. I know it's easy, but for a kindergarten, you know, technically I read it second grade math, but
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And that's just because, hey, he knows he's beautiful, he's smart, he's good, and he needs to try.
Yeah.
And that's just basically it. That doesn't involve any other people or bullying people or how they treat you. It just gives you a path. And so, and like I said, I feel if everybody across the board, whether it's a beautiful, you know, baby girl, baby boy, whatever it is, and they just said, all right, I'm going to stop. This is my focus. This is my focus. I don't care about the social media and all that stuff. And everybody just dug in there and gave them that perfect surrounding, this world would fix itself.
Yeah.
Ethical capitalism might be true down the road. You know, you never know, but it takes education and it takes love and it takes people wanting to be fair, you know? And if you've been picked on your whole life and you get power, you're not going to be fair.
Nice.
I probably wouldn't either, you know. So I'm not judging them. Is my point. You know, if I got a chip on, everybody hates me. I don't like anybody, but I have power. I probably wouldn't handle it right either. I'm no better than anybody, you know.
Yeah. All right. Next question. What's your favorite food or dish?
Oh man, definitely tacos. I know it's lame, but I love tacos, man.
No, I was
yeah.
Well, like or what restaurant or what type of tacos?
Pinche's tacos. Let me talk about. Yeah, okay. I don't know if people know what that is in America, and I know what that means in the language, but pinche tacos is the best. Awesome. I'll get a gringo taco all day. I don't know if that's racist. It's great. It's good. They have gringo tacos. They'll call me a gringo.
Maybe quickly describe that taco.
Oh man, it's just like this little dude. It could be chicken, it could be pork, it could be barbacoa. That's pork, right? And then it could be steak, and then they have just cilantro, onions. It's like a soft taco. So it's a corn or flour tortilla, and then they got this like sauce, man. And the sauce is just perfect. And then the other ones are like they're fried with the same ingredients. And then I don't know which one's the gringo. That's the problem, which sounds bad. But I just ordered tacos, and then they give them to me, and I just eat the tacos. I love them to death.
Is that off of Flamingo?
There's one on Flamingo, and there's one right next to where I'm at in the Green Valley Ranch area, across from Green Valley. That's the one I go to. But my wife, she just went there, and she's the best. And she was like, I got you some pinche tacos, and she got me a burrito, dude. And I ate it. And I'm like, I'm stoked. This is awesome. I'm like, why would you go to my favorite place and give me like
something
the
else?
thing?
That's
Try
awesome.
new things. You're the best, babe. You're the best, babe. I
All
loved
right.
I loved it. It was a good burrito. I'm not saying anything bad about the burritos, but man, come on, PJ tacos all day. That's my favorite food.
All right, next question, or actually, I think the last question. Think of at least two friends that should do this conversation. Call them out.
Oh, Brandon Guchon, my best friend in the world, radio personality on Comp 92.3, the DJ the guy that does all the podcasts with me, does
Oh,
Rise to
awesome.
Offend, does metalsucks.net. A very, very wise man, fantastic stand-up comic who's been doing it for 20 years. He is just, I don't know, man. Like I said, he's like my brother. I got nothing and nothing but praise for the guy, and he would have a great time to do the podcast. And then the other person that I would highly, say to do the podcast. Let's see who else. I'm gonna go with my 5-year-old son Briscoe.
Really?
Because he is smart and he could do math. He can't last 3 hours. There should be a 30-minute time limit.
Yeah,
with
we'll try.
questions. And I think my son Briscoe, people are gonna be like, that kid is crazy. That kid is amazing. He's cute. He says dude all the time because I do, but that's okay. He says dude and homie because I say homie a lot, which I didn't know, but he picks up on that. And when I say that dude's like bad, I call him a savage. And he says that. He goes, no, that guy's a savage. I'm like, I don't know if we could say this. Like, I don't know if savage is the word, but yeah, I use that. So he picked up all my traits, and he's shown me how to live. There's nothing I can't promise more to the world. My kids, Briscoe and Dio, have shown me how to live and how I should treat everybody else, because their eyes are innocent and they see beauty in everyone, everything, and there is no way I'm gonna go back to thinking something's bad in this world when I get to see how they react to a donut.
Awesome. All right, so plug yourself. So you mentioned metalsucks.net.
Yes, but I'm lucky enough to been on metalsucks.net now for 5 years. The guys that run the sites, their surnames are Vince and Axel, and they're out of Brooklyn, New York. Metalsucks.net is a news source site for heavy metal news. It's a blog. These guys, they keep their opinions honest. I love them for that. However they see the world, however they see things, however they see the problems in metal and some of the actions of the people in metal, they call them out, and they do that. And again, the most important thing is being yourself, having your opinions, and finding a platform and an audience. And these guys found that. Vince and Axel did for years. It's been over 10 years now. It was 10 years when I first started, and they've let me be kind of a voice on their podcast with Sylvia, who is one of the greatest people I know, Brandon and Jaws, So I really want everybody to go to metalsucks.net, support the heck out of those two guys, and definitely check out our podcast if you guys are into metal. It's a niche podcast. If you're not into metal, then you're going to get banter from us talking about metal, but it's a niche podcast. We haven't missed an episode, and we're at episode 400 this week. So definitely metalsucks.net is a big, yeah. You ready for the next one? Ready? Podcast that Brandon started, and that now is a documentary discussion podcast, and that is Rise to Offend. I know the title, people. I know it's not the greatest title in the world, but that's the title that started with the podcast, and I didn't change it when we changed formats. It is a documentary discussion podcast, and we take figures that offended society in some way. Could be something new, could be a topic. We've done things like Me Too. We've done Colin Kaepernick. We've done Natural Born Killers. We've done the film Kids. We've done artists like Phil Anselmo, the lead singer of Pantera. The one we did latest is Henry Rollins. We've done, Steve Biko, for people that don't know about his story, we've done, and so Ann Coulter, we've done, Jerry Springer. So we've done a lot. We've done over 100 episodes. We recently just did Chuck Schuldiner, one of the most important figures in heavy metal, the guy that I credit and most people credit that invented death metal. There's an argument there, I know. And that was our 400th episode as well. And I planned, when I started the format, we've done over 100 episodes of the documentary discussion format. I planned to make sure that Chuck would be the 400th, because I thought that'd be the last episode I did. I was like, all right, I'm gonna get to 400. We're gonna end this podcast, but there's a lot of fans out there, and it's still doing really well. So we're not ending anything, and despite how difficult it is to edit that and put that show together, I will keep doing that. Metal Sucks ain't going nowhere unless those guys fire me. But I got to tell you, I didn't get fired during the pandemic, so I think I'm going to make it. And pandemic was hard for music industry, but they kept us on board. So I think we'll be all right. So those are those websites. If you guys, I'm not a social media type of guy. If you want to follow me, I'm at Rise to Offend. It's just the podcast handles at Rise to Offend on Facebook and Twitter, Rise to Offend Official on Instagram. And it's available everywhere. So you guys can check that one out for sure. But yeah, metal fans, people that listen to heavy music. I've talked to every metal guy. I seriously have. I can't tell you. There's 400 episodes. So I don't know who I haven't talked to that I want to. But anyways, you guys check that out if you want. So that's all I got to plug, my friend.
Awesome.
Liem.
Petar, it was an awesome conversation. Thank you so much for spending 3 hours with me. Cheers to you, man.
I have to click there. And cheers to you, Liem. Thank you so much for having me, my man.
And then we'll have to have you in person since you're also here in Vegas. So next one we'll hopefully have my co-host on, and then we'll talk more about the Yugoslavia or the culture of it, and we'll get more.
We could do another 3 hours like that.
Yeah,
I ain't worried about it. Yep, I ain't worried about it. It was good times. Yeah.
All right. See you, man.
Later, dude.